Hello, 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 everyone. Good evening. Good evening. We're really going to be burning the oil tonight, right? Quite late, sorry, but I appreciate everybody coming in here. I know it's late, you guys. Um, all right, Australia, you're number one in here tonight, girl. All right, God bless. And Miss Justice, number two in here. I appreciate that. Much love, PG. Much love to you guys. You know it. And let's see, number three, Patty Allen. Patty Allen, number three. There we go. And a legendary number four. All right. Here we go. One, two, three, and four. Good to see you guys. How's it going, Lady Q? Good to see you, sweetie. Good to see you in here tonight. And Karen, how you doing, sweetie? Absolutely. I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Australia. Absolutely. I appreciate it. All right. There is Abigail. How you doing, sweetie? Trisha. Lady. Oh, Lady Q was one of the top ones. I already said hi to you. I'm remembering tonight. All right. I'm remembering tonight. Um, Racing the Boondocks. How you doing, sweetie? Good to see you. There's Suzanne. Spread the love. Let me see. I'm getting down through here. Oh, that is beautiful. That is beautiful. Purple hearts for summer. God bless. My fragile little mind. I see you, girl. I love it. I love it. Hey, Pam, how you doing tonight, sweetie? Good to see you. Brown eyes blue. There you are, girlfriend. Happy to be here. Hey, girl, we're happy you are here. God bless. All right. I wanted to come in. I just wanted to stop in tonight and talk about a couple of things in the Summer Wells case. Um, and I know, through the grapevine, you know, somebody else has been, um, trying to run their mouth on PG. That's okay. That's okay. Best thing to do sometimes is leave, them demons to the Lord, right? Just leave them to the Lord. Them evil demon people on this earth. They're all housed up. They're all housed up with, with evil stuff that they know nothing about. They ain't smart enough to understand that they're housed up, right? That's their problem, not mine. You know, I know, I know that God's children, you know, ain't supposed to, you know, be happy, be happy when, you know, certain people are all housed up like that. But sometimes you can't help it. Sometimes you just can't help, you know, being glad that, that they are who they are, right? Sometimes you can't help that. I mean, I try my best to, to not get no satisfaction, out of these evil people's, shortcomings. But sometimes, sometimes you got to say, Lord, forgive me, because, you're kind of glad to see it, right? You're kind of glad to see they're getting back some of what they've been giving out. And I don't know. I don't know. But sometimes you just gotta let go and let God deal with it. They sitting around crying, oh, don't want nobody pushing this and pushing that. Dude, you can't, you can't push anything. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And I want to tell you something about evil people. They want to push their evil ways off on other people. Like, for instance, people are jealous when evil people are jealous when you believe in God. They're jealous when you got the light of God in your eyes. They can see that lantern, that beacon of light. They can see that beacon of hope inside of you that the Lord filled you with. And man, ain't nothing they like more than to try to put it out, right? They want to put that light out. Now, I got news for people. At the beginning of this earth, there is no other religion. There's no other religion than the good old Bible. What I'm saying is, it dates back to the beginning of time, to the very beginning of time. This earth was nothing. It was a great big void of nothing until God looked down here and parted all that water, made the seas, made everything, brought up the dry land and started, going to work on it to make it what it is. And I'm going to tell you what, God's art is the most beautiful art you've ever seen. You go out and look at the sea. When you can look at the sea and see as far as the sky is nothing but the sea, that's a beautiful sight. That's God's work, not ours. When you go out into a field where you can't see anything but trees and grass and mountains, that's God's art, not ours. You walk into the city, see all these houses and buildings and everything. You're out in the country seeing houses and that's all man-made, but God supplied everything to make it with. He supplied it all. And the Bible goes all the way back to the first people ever created, Adam and Eve. There was no gods. There is a God, God Almighty, who made everything, that controls all. And Jesus Christ is his son. And that's just the way it is. But evil people want to manipulate other people's minds because they're so evil they believe they're going to Hades, and they want everybody else to be going to Hades with them. I don't listen to those people. I don't listen to them. I mean, I listened to some of the BS tonight. Somebody sent it to me. And yeah, I listened. And I just had to look up and thank God that I know the truth. And I cannot be moved. Why? Because my bestest friend named Jesus Christ, he can't be moved either. And that's my rock. And I will not be moved because I am part of the body of Christ. You can't move that. And I thank God for that. So, Andrew, I'm sure you got your antennas up. You always do. You know what you can do. Oh, you know what you could do. You can kiss this angel's backside, baby. There you go. I'm going to tell you something. Something that looks like you, acts like you, and are you does not intimidate me in the least. I'm going to get that out of the way right now, right here. In my opinion, you look like you crawled out from underneath a rock. You're all talk, no action, dude. You want to talk about people? I'm going to tell you something. This is Summer's channel, and it will always be Summer's channel. And this channel has worked harder for this little girl to be found and to get all the answers than their own two parents that wanted to sit around and try to gaslight people that this child, even law enforcement, that this child was abducted just to keep them off of their property when they know exactly what happened to their little girl. Guaranteed, that's my opinion. I will keep it, and I'm allowed to have my opinion. Trust and believe me, sweetheart. You know nothing. You are not brilliant. I would like to say, you know, most people are jack of all trades, the master of nothing. But you ain't even that. That's really sad. That's really sad. And you want to sit around trying to intimidate somebody off of your sofa? Off of your sofa? While you're freaking making out with your cat? Come on. Just stop it. Just stop it. That's weird. Yeah, that's what he does too. He's a real freak with that cat. You know, animal control should check into that one. For real. Just saying. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. And I'm allowed to have it because this is America. And I'm going to tell him something. When them boys turn 18 years of age, they can actually, because they were taken because of abuse and neglect, gross neglect, to be honest. That house was an endangerment to them children. And I don't know exactly what kind of paperwork Child Protective Services put out to Candus and Dawn. I think that paperwork was a fact to proceed no further, as in recent child abuse when they don't have no kids to abuse type thing. And that can and that can be done. Sometimes that can be done in order to just shut the case down and spend no more of the taxpayers' money. And I believe that's what it is. But if it shows to be anything else, and them boys turn 18 years of age, knowing the hell and the misery and the pain and all the things they suffered at the hands of Don and Candus Wells, at the hands of these two people that were supposed to be educating them righteously, keeping the house clean, making sure they were healthy, wealthy, and well, and wasn't. That is a definite. That is a definite. They wasn't seeking medical care when it needed to be, or dental care when it needed to be, or anything really when it needed to be. The children were surely undernourished. Pictures show that. They went to school because that's the only place they could get away from all of that abuse and actually find some food. And they loved going to school, I'm sure, just for that reason, to get away from there. But through all the trauma they've been through, and then their sister completely disappearing. Their parents ain't able to clear themselves. They turn 18 years of age. They could actually come back on the state for issuing such statements. They might even, be able to advocate for other severely abused and neglected children that, that this happens to as well. So, you want to talk about somebody ending up with a lot of money? It's probably going to be them boys at the age of 18. There you go. And obviously, you're scared of me telling people that they have a hell to shun and a heaven to gain. Who am I scaring? Who is starting to listen to the truth? Who's starting to listen to the truth and wanting to gain that heaven, and possibly maybe talking about confessing to where Summer is, what happened, so their soul won't end up in the wrong place? Because it seems to be intimidating you. Could it be your boy? Could it be your boy? Maybe starting to think about not just his mind and his body, but his soul as well. Do you think that maybe it's going to be Andy Bernard that ends up going forth and telling everything because he liked to see his soul kept out of Hades as well? What are you afraid of? You obviously are afraid of it. I'm going to tell you. You got a problem with religion, take it up with God. Okay? Because that's who wrote the Bible. Right? He's the one that wrote the Bible. He's the one that picked the people to jot down everything he wanted to be in there. They were the vessels God used to write his book, and he wrote it. So you got a problem with it, baby. You go take it up with him, okay? Don't be trying to take it out with PG. You don't want to do that either. Trust me. Hey, Pam, I'm bringing you up, girlfriend. Trust me. What's up, girl? Hey, Pam. Hey, you're feeding back.
But as far as this ain't Summer's Army, yes, it is.
Yes, it is, and it always has been, and it always will be. And he's just intimidated because obviously somebody's wanting to save their soul and possibly thinking about, telling all. And that seems to be intimidating him, right? That seems to be intimidating him. That's irritating his demons.
If he
Right?
don't like this channel, maybe he shouldn't come over.
Well, I got news for Andrew. This is America, and a lot of people gave their lives so that we would have our right to freedom of speech. And we are allowed to say and think and act and do however we damn well please.
Yeah, but
And that's none of his business. That's none of his
why don't
business.
he sit back and ask Candus where Summer is? Because we know she knows.
Why don't
He was with her last.
why
They
don't
want to
he
sit around and talk.
why doesn't he face the truth? Why doesn't he face the truth about him being the one that said that he believes that, his son Hunter, you know, actually did something to that little girl? Why doesn't he own up to the fact that he said that he believes his own son Hunter, uh, actually unlived Leslie and Allison? Why don't he, most of the stuff out here that, that we have played out came directly out of that horse's mouth.
What about what he's hanging on to, and he'll take it to his grave with him? What do
Exactly.
you know, Andrew?
Exactly. But you know what? We're not going to give Andrew no more attention because that's what he's after. That's what that demon is seeking. And we're not going to give him any more. I just wanted to straighten out with him that he doesn't intimidate me in the least. Absolutely no way, form, or how. Period.
Them three up
But
there on the hill.
I can tell that we sure the hell are intimidating the hell out of him. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm not trying to lead people down some wide road into the wrong place. I'm trying to keep everybody on the straight and narrow, the one that's, very few people travel, and the right one that's going to the right place. And that's where I try to keep my people. I have not ever asked none of my people to go and cause anybody any type of issues or anything. I haven't ever done it. Even though I've watched a lot of other creators put the people, put their mods or chat or whatever up to go do this or that. Not PG. Not PG. I've always handled everything that is when people come at us sideways, I have always stepped up front and handled it all by myself in order to keep my people on the righteous path. And I don't ask them to do anything to get off that righteous path. And I want to tell you, that's what a good person does. They handle their own and they make sure that everybody else stays where they're supposed to be. An evil person will try to get other people to do evil because misery loves company. They don't want, these people ain't afraid of going to Hades. They're afraid of going to Hades alone. That's the problem. That's the problem. And they're, seeking to get anyone and everyone they can to go with them. And, I don't do that. I don't do that. I'm seeking the kingdom of heaven myself. And I'm trying to get everybody else to seek it as well. Right? We all want to be there together. We all want to be in heaven. We don't want to be anywhere else.
Yeah, and with all the haters, how can you do it when they're talking about everybody? Why don't he talk about itself? Leave you alone.
Well, because if he talked about himself, what is there to talk about? He's a nobody. Right? He's a nobody talking about somebody. And I'm not talking about me. When I say he's a nobody talking about somebody, I'm saying he's a nobody talking about Jesus Christ and God Almighty, who God created all things. Right? So he's talking, about somebody. When he talks about me, he ain't talking about PG. He's talking about God because I'm just a messenger. I'm just a messenger. I'm just spreading the word that, we're Christians are supposed to spread. And I'm going to tell you something. Ain't nobody going to tell me. Nobody's going to sit there, run their mouth, and try to take my freedom of religion away. I have every right to stand up for my religion. And I'm going to.
And we all have a freedom of speech.
Amen. And in my opinion, Don and Candus Wells knows exactly what happened to those children, to Summer Moon Utah Wells. They know exactly what they did to those boys. And that is just the way it is. I don't care. I don't care. That's my opinion. I am allowed to have it and I will keep it. I will keep it.
Who was with Summer
Candus
the
Wells,
whole day?
and I'm going to tell you,
Candus and Hunter was with that girl all day.
Well,
and Hunter wasn't with her when she came home, but he was with her most of all day. Now, if you want to take that back, take it back, because I'll say it just like I'm going to say it.
absolutely.
Leave PG alone, Andrew.
There you go, girl.
I'm sick of all this hating on YouTube.
You was telling me something about when I was talking with you last night. You was telling me the reason that people were having that you heard that the reason people couldn't find all the paperwork and everything on Summer is because Candus had her going under Summer Bly.
Yeah.
Allegedly. Right.
Enrolled in school under Summer Bly, not Summer Wells.
So she enrolled her.
And why does Candus sign every paper, every document under Candus Bly and not Candus Wells? Okay, I can see it, but is it legal? Oh yeah, Andrew, wait a minute. Andrew's one that had his wedding in a driveway. Did we all forget? A driveway wedding? Yeah, come on. Roll with the punches. You want to come at me, Andrew? Come. Ground me up like hamburger like you did before. Come.
I'm going to tell you, yeah, that's right. He was putting some real intimidating threats upon you, wasn't he? He's
wanting to ground me up like hamburger.
Yeah, I remember that. That's true.
Come on, Andrew.
But anyway,
this hamburger's fucking here. Where
right.
are you?
Listen, Pam. Let's not give Andrew no more attention because
I'm just saying.
Demons like that.
I'm just saying. He acts like he sits over there and acts like he's a superstar and he wants to run this channel down. This channel done everything for Summer.
He
hasn't done nothing.
No, he hasn't done anything for Summer but, destroy her case that could have been solved. But yes. But he puts down every channel.
Don't run PG down. As far as PG doing it for gain, PG don't do it. PG has never, and I want to see the first person to say that PG's done it for the money, because there ain't been no money over here. Where's the Cash App? Where's the Venmo? Where's the PayPal? There ain't one running at the bottom of the screen. Come on, who's doing it for money? Andrew?
That's true.
This channel found a little girl, Andrew.
And I try, no matter what's going on behind the scenes in my personal life.
I'm sick and tired of all this bullshit.
I always make time. I always make time to be here for Summer. And you're right. I do it for nothing. It costs me to be here. It costs me my time. It costs me my money. It costs me a lot. But I'm always here. And it's cost me a lot more than just time and money. But I wasn't going to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. But, we're going to move on. Pam. And cover.
I want to ask everyone, though, for real. I want to ask everyone to pray for the boyfriend. He's still in the hospital.
Oh, he didn't get out today?
He started running a fever today.
Oh, girlfriend, I am so sorry to hear. Absolutely.
So just pray. But this ain't about me. It's about
him. It's about him. And we need to pray for him and pray that, that he gets healed soon and he's able to get back with you, because we can tell you truly love him. You really care about him. I mean, he's your all in all. And, and we will pray. We will pray, Pam. Not
and
just
if something happens to him, where will I be?
Hey,
I know I can take care of myself.
you'll be
I can
okay.
do that.
You'll be
But
okay. But
I
you know
want
what?
my man home with me,
Well,
not in a hospital.
keep praying, girlfriend. Keep praying. God answers prayers. Just
I
keep
pray every
praying.
day he comes home.
Amen.
And
Hey,
then today I get a call that he's running a fever. I can't even go there because I have epilepsy and I don't drive. I don't have nobody to take me anywhere. I can't even go see him.
hey, I'm going to tell you, Pam, just calm down, girlfriend. God will make a way. Where you
I
see no
sit here,
way, God will make a way.
I sit here all by myself.
Hey, girlfriend, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. The prayers are going up. The
But I
prayers.
love everyone in here. I love PG. It's over. I said my burst about Andrew. It's over. I'm done. Leave PG alone is all I ask.
Hey,
Leave this channel alone. If you don't like it, don't come over here.
that's right. Don't. He don't have to listen to it. Nobody's forcing him to listen now, are they? If this channel irritates his demons, then I suggest he takes his demons and goes somewhere else with them. They're not welcome here anyway, right? They're not welcomed here. We rebuke demons in the name of Jesus Christ. So he can take that elsewhere. But you know, you got to stay calm, Pam. Stay calm, and just know that God's with you and everything's going to be fine. Just, girl, have faith. Have faith.
I try PG, but sometimes when
Girl,
my man's
faith
gone,
can
I
move,
can't get to him.
faith can move
If
mountains,
it wasn't
Pam.
for the stupid epilepsy, I could drive.
And, I told you they have Ubers. You can take an Uber. You can, take a taxi. Places have taxi cabs.
I called, they wanted $30. Just one way trip.
How about your brother? How about your brother and or your sister-in-law, or how about your family that you have there? I'm sure they would come and run you to the hospital to visit up with you.
There's nobody here. My
You
brother stopped coming around.
you said that they came and visited you.
Yeah, the other day, but that's it. I'll probably not see him I hadn't seen him in months.
Well, call them. Call. I
I
mean,
have tried PG. It's family stuff, It just.
right.
But I'm okay. I'm fine. I'll get through this. But I'm 58 years old and being with my man that I've been with for 15 years.
Yeah. What about a church? If you call a church and tell a church what's going on, a lot of times the pastor or one of the people at the church will come and they'll take you. They'll take you to go see him and drop you back off.
Well, they're saying that he said they told him today that he might be out tomorrow or the next day. So he's been in there since Thursday. So and
Right?
today he started running a fever. It was only 101. So I
Only?
just want him home so I can take care of him, not these people.
Well, he'll be home soon. He'll be home soon. You got to quit worrying. You got to calm down and stop worrying.
But you had something to come in here with. This is about Summer, not about me. So,
hey, girl, we're
I
always here.
gave my burst at the beginning, so I
We
want to
are,
see what.
we are here. We are here for one another, Pam. We are here for one another. And like I said, where there's the will, there's a way. You know, God will
I
make
love
a
my
way.
man with all my heart.
God will make a way for, you know, for you to be able to get up there and see your to see him. I truly believe that.
He'll give me a call about 7 o'clock in the morning. So,
Right.
but this is a Summer's channel, not mine. So let's move on with Summer.
Do you have a Cash App?
No, I don't want nothing.
People's asking if they can help, and if you have a Cash App,
I
I can.
appreciate it, but I don't, I'm not one of them type of people.
Pam,
I'm good.
people are offering to help
If you
you.
want to send me anything, you can put my address in. I don't care about
No,
my
we
address.
can't.
Write
No,
my
no, no,
address down, send me a
no,
gift card.
no. We cannot put your address out here. Absolutely not.
They've all got it anyway.
But if you have a Cash App, I would be glad to run it in the chat for you.
I don't have
I
one.
thought you had one on your Facebook.
Yeah, but I dropped that one.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? Maybe some of the people can get a hold of you behind the scenes and
Yeah, just get a hold of me behind the scenes if you. I got a
right,
Facebook.
right. Maybe they can do that and help you out if you know if they can. So you
Yeah,
know,
just get a hold of me behind Facebook. I'm just. I have a Facebook, but
right.
I love you all.
Hey, girl,
Happy Jesus is about Summer, not about me. So
right.
let's move on to Summer.
All right, girl. Let's do it. Okay, what I wanted to talk about tonight is from a very reliable source. A very reliable source told me that Candus has been seen up up at Morrison Cemetery, standing over Timothy Morrison's grave, that particular gravesite, crying. Now, do you guys remember when everybody put a one in the chat if you remember when Candace walked off the hill and she was seen walking and Don following her in the vehicle out of Ben Hill Road? Put a one in the chat if you remember that. Because I heard that that's where she was heading. That she was walking over to Morrison Cemetery. That's what I heard. That's where she was going to go. But there were people there, and Don was coaching her to get back into his vehicle. But that's where she was heading, was supposedly to Morrison Cemetery. You know, this information comes from very reliable sources. And if she's over there visiting up that particular cemetery, has some type of need to be going over there. And I heard that Don has went there with her as well. Then obviously that cemetery needs to be looked into. It has to be looked into. These are reliable sources that this stuff is coming from. Yes, that's exactly what she said.
What about the time that Candus, okay, and I'm going to bring this up because it's about summer. Everybody thinks that summer's been, and I'm not going to dwell on it, sex traffic, all this, blah, blah, blah. But how many times has Candus and Dawn revealed that Summer is unalive in their statements alone?
Right.
In their statements.
Well,
Candus and Dawn has a daughter missing. What have they done in 4 years? In 4 years to find their daughter.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What have they done? And everybody out here on YouTube, everybody that takes her name, they want to run after, they want to go at, but people is trying their hardest to find Summer. What is Dawn and Candus doing? Sitting back, having the life of their dream because they don't have any kids.
Well, I don't think they're really having, the life of their dreams at this point right here. I think that, I don't I don't think it's the life of their dreams. I think that they're very miserable, to be honest with you. See, this is my opinion. My opinion is Don Wells tried to convince Candus that, they was going to work this plan, this premeditated, carried out plan so well that the boys wasn't going to get took. I think he had her convinced that, that law enforcement was going to come up there. They'd be looking for Summer somewhere else, because they had their P's and Q's together about, abduction type thing. And they, and they think that Don and Candace, they always think that if you say it, it makes it true. And they don't realize that, law enforcement don't give a damn what you say. It don't make it true to them. They investigate for the truth. And they did investigate. And Ronnie Lawson said, no signs of an abduction whatsoever. And, and they didn't even put out, no Amber Alert. They really shouldn't ever put it out because, law enforcement was pretty convinced that it wasn't no abduction, at all from day one. But, but they did, because of, the pressure, pressure from the media and society and so forth and so on. And, that's the thing that, we need to quit pressuring law enforcement into doing things that, isn't going to benefit the child, isn't going to benefit the child in question, that gets something like this happens to. Because
like when
you
Pewitt came out and Pewitt said, I think she's in this area somewhere.
Right.
He didn't mention out of the area.
Well,
he mentioned that area.
He also said that, they did the deep searches and they came back and did an extra deep dive search. And he said if she was out there, he's sure they would have found her. So, but he still felt that she was in the area, but not living. So, it sounds to me like they were pretty on top of everything from day one. And when we pressured law enforcement to put out these Amber Alerts and all of these things, what happens is now it's hard to prosecute because, you've got that Amber Alert in question because law enforcement was kind of pushed to do it. When you don't do it, then, it's not in question. And it's easier to build a case without a body and prosecute it. So, law enforcement knows that they dropped the ball where Summer's case is concerned in many different areas, I'm sure, but and they haven't really overly been able to retrieve it to the point of prosecution. And but you learn by your mistakes. You learn how to, it'll help another child. It might not help Summer, but it might help another child. But they're still doing everything they can to solve Summer's case as we speak.
I'm not saying insurance, or I'm not saying law enforcement. I'm saying that if they, what has Don and Candus, what, they can't get a crew up? I thought they had a crew. I thought, so many people are behind them. Why don't they go out and search every weekend? But they don't do it like.
Had an opportunity. Don and Candus Wells at the beginning had an opportunity, and this is after law enforcement came up there, searched, did all their things, and was gone. Was gone. Just coming back, hounding Candus about the timeline and coming back hounding Candus about the timeline. Law enforcement wasn't going anywhere else. They was coming right back to 110. So that tells you right there who they believe done it, in my opinion. But the point being is after, law enforcement, didn't have eyes on anything but the Wells, Don and Candus had an opportunity. There were so many people offering to come up there. And I mean enough people that if everybody held hands, they could have, they would have went from the Wells house all the way down to Beach Creek, halfway around Beach Creek, and all of them could have walked. Nobody would have had to look any further than at what was under their feet walking through there, right? And that's how many people was willing to come out there. You wouldn't even have had to do anything but look down to see if anything's there. And they said absolutely no. Don and Candus did not. Here's my opinion. Don and Candus did not want Summer found. Matter of fact, they didn't even want to talk about her. That's the one thing. They wanted to talk about everything that wouldn't put them in prison, and they didn't want to talk about nothing that would. And Summer happens to be the one thing they didn't want to talk about. And in my opinion, it's because that's the one thing that could have put them in prison, and they was avoiding it like the plague. And that it is what it is. We all know it's the truth. Every last one of us know that they were doing absolutely nothing to find Summer. And Candus even made a statement that, when the searchers were out there searching for Summer, thought she wandered off, and they're all out there trying to see if she wandered off. Candus said, if I would have been out there and found her and picked her up, it would, I'd have been messing up a crime scene. What? No, that wasn't it. When
enforcement has never said the word crime scene. If I go out in the woods and I find Summer, I would have to scoop her up, and I would mess up a crime scene.
Right.
Okay, Candus, where's the crime scene?
Right.
And then when she's talking to Ernie, Ernie says, go to the hospital because she's sounding sick. Oh, I'm not that kind of sick. Well, then what kind of sick are you?
Right. And
then when you say, I gotta put Summer aside because the boys are here and living.
Right.
And then when Dawn gets on there, I'll see her in the resurrection and you won't find no evidence.
That's
who says that? Who puts a flyer or a banner in the driveway? Who puts a banner on the roof?
Right.
For the birds to see? Everybody else is supposed to see it. And then you put a bench down there. at the end of the drive when the road ain't big enough for 2 cars. But why didn't you put the bench up there where her special, as you quote, as they quoted, her special tree was? So they could sit out there. But no, they don't want to do none of that. They don't want to do the real stuff. They don't want to work for their daughter. But let's go find, like Don Wells and the other guy. Let's go find Evelyn Boswell. Yeah, let's look for her, but we ain't looking for my daughter.
Right.
Come on.
That's true. That's true.
Let's go, Candus. You run. Come up here.
Well, I want to cover some content here so they can hear Candus's own words tonight. I'm
sorry.
It's okay. It's cool.
I can probably quote 10 of Candus's words or phrases.
I think we all can. We've heard it enough, right? She was nonstop for so long.
And why was Candus the only one? Why was Summer the only one that got a piece of candy? Why
nobody got candy. Nobody got candy. That was made up.
Yeah, like the whole script was made up, because when Don came home that one day, he said, "Oh, we got to put a timeline together because our timeline isn't matching law enforcement's timeline."
Right.
Okay, let's go, people. Where's the timeline? Candus and Don know. That's why.
Law enforcement, you don't understand. Law enforcement is very brilliant. Those were detectives going up there. Those were detectives going up there questioning Candus, so forth and so on. And the feds were in on Summer's case and so forth and so on as well. Still are. But the point being is when, they went up there and law enforcement went up there and gaslighted Candus with that timeline stuff. And, and she was, and they knew she was lying because, she was saying that there was, she couldn't remember and acting like she had amnesia and and all of these things, Alzheimer's and stuff going on. And, with that timeline, which, fitted to a T if they really had done it. And law enforcement knew that it was made up shit because they kept telling her there was time missing. And she kept saying she would, and that she knew, and that she would try to think what else they were doing. And then she added some stuff. At first it was, they came home and put the groceries away and got something to eat, the flowers. And then when law enforcement told her, oh, there's some time missing time, then she threw in that she was doing some laundry and, and then and they're like, yeah, it still isn't going to, do you know how long it takes to do laundry? I mean, laundry alone could have sucked up that timeline. But, they're like, no, that still ain't working. And then she's like, well, I went out and I went over and talked to my mother before I came back to even get Summer. And she was throwing stuff in, trying to fill all of these gaps, which was, already full. But, they were gaslighting her to see, what she would do. And she was trying to throw in a bunch of extra things and so forth and so on, and then dodge them, and calling Donald and having him come home, and tell him that, she's still working on the timeline and, and they was going to be writing it all down for him and all of this and that. And they knew that it was pure bullshit. I mean, law enforcement knew what they were doing. And that's why Don and Candus are number one suspects in all of this.
And that little script that she wrote up, oh, we went over planting flowers. Okay.
Right.
That was a script.
But,
with Don and Candus, you have to listen to the keyword that they say. Just a little bit of keywords only means a lot.
Yes. That goes for every person. That goes for all humans. The keywords, the ones you got to know what to grab onto. If you're trained, you know what you're looking for. But I wanna play out some of what Candus said herself.
Are you happier now, Candus?
Am I happier? Well, I'm happy, but I'll be really happy when I get my boys back.
What about Summer? Listen to this, you guys.
Are you happier now, Candus?
Am I happier? Well, I'm happy, but I'll be really happy when I get my boys back. When I get my babies back, then I'll be really happy.
When I get my babies back, when I get my boys back, my babies back, I'll be really happy. No Summer.
Boys.
No Summer.
Doesn't say anything about a girl.
Just the boys, which I found very odd. Just the boys. I'll be happy when I get my boys back. That tells us that she knows Summer. She knows Summer's not coming back. That's what it tells us. It tells us that she knows what happened to this little girl. That's what it tells us.
I want to keep doing me.
That's like when she said
so I can do my boys. Yes.
I'm going to keep doing me so I can do my boys. That's what she said.
I want to keep doing me so I can do my boys. Yes, Summer will always be here with me. No matter what anybody says.
And Summer will always be here with me no matter what anybody says. No matter what anybody says, Summer always be here with me. Well, you can see Morrison Cemetery right off the 110 Ben Hill Road. You can look straight over there and see the cemetery. You can walk down there to it. It's just a hop and a jump down the road. You can walk right down there. Matter of fact, I heard Candus was when Don was following her to get her back in the car because he had already gotten wind that people were down there and going to be seeing everything going on. So there you go. Just saying.
Summer went swimming that day at the horse stables, I believe it was. And then we come back.
Hang on to that, PG.
I went in my camper and
the horse stable. I believe it was. Why would she have to believe it was if she was there?
Right.
Go ahead and play it.
Brought my groceries in for me, and the boys helped with that, and of course Summer.
Now, right there is what. Hold on, Pam. That right there is the statement that I want you guys to focus in on. Is her saying, "The boys helped me," and of course Summer. Now,
exactly.
Summer was an afterthought, and she was an afterthought, in my opinion, because she wasn't, there. She wasn't there she wasn't there like the boys, as in physical body, running around, able to help. Summer was still in the vehicle, in the back seat, laying against those boxes. And the boys were the only ones out there running to help anything. And they didn't even help Grandis take her groceries in. They were taking the groceries in to Candus's house. Candus plainly plainly stated, and that Grandis took her own stuff to her house. The boys helped her put the stuff in her house. She plainly stated that. And you can clearly see here, this is where the back door is, you guys. This is right here. It leads down to the basement door. And you can clearly see the door of the camper right there. If you're sitting in that doorway, you can see everything all the way down through here. You know, there's no way. And Grandis was sitting right there. She was sitting right there in that doorway the whole entire time that Summer was supposed to have disappeared. She was sitting right here. And Candus was right there as well.
And focus PG on the time. Okay. They were out all day, okay? They were out all day.
Well, I wanted
to... They come home, okay? They're coming home. How does a person that knows, okay, how does a person sit there? How does a person know that Candus and Grandis are going to be home at that certain time, and where she's going to be at? And at that certain, you know, let's go, you know, if we're looking in abduction, how are they going to know this guy's got to sit up there all day not knowing what Candus and Grandis are doing, unless they're in phone calls? But, I mean, unless they're somewhere, there's no way that person's going to sit up there all day and wait.
Hold on, Pam. Hold on. Jinkies came in. She said, PG, I got a new bag of banana Laffy Taffy, and I was wondering if I share some few pieces with you, could you share that famous brownie recipe? You could take your, for one, I ain't even into no bananas. That's disgusting. Matter of fact, I don't even get, thanks to some of you people, you creators like you Jinkies and Tiffany Marie and a few, you know, creators out here doing all this weird stuff. Man, I'm going to tell you, I stay away from the fruit and vegetable department. To hell with that. I don't want none of that stuff. I mean, you guys might be doing something and taking that stuff back. Oh, hell no. I don't even be buying that stuff no more. You know, heck no. And, you know, Laffy Taffy, you can take Laffy Taffy in your assy the hell on out of here. You ain't getting my brownie recipe. Hell to the no, girl. Hell to the no. Okay, what was you saying?
But if that person had to sit up there and wait all day, knowing that the boys were up there by themselves. Okay, so that person, okay, could have had 3 for the price of 1. Why all of a sudden
there was no person.
We know. I'm just saying.
For one, nobody's going to come up on that hill due to the fact, you know, like take for instance, Chris M. When he went up there, his wife wouldn't even get out of the car. She's like, "Oh hell no, I'm not getting out of this car."
No, not when the dead door was halfway open.
Well, all the dogs. She was, you know, she's like, "I'm not getting out with all them dogs." You know, people are scared.
Oh, but remember,
they're scared of dogs.
Remember, PG, when this first came out, the dogs was on vacation to Hawaii.
Yeah,
there wasn't no dogs up there when all this happened.
Right, Don got a real kick. He got a real kick out of that, didn't he?
And let me tell you something. If there was a dog having puppies underneath that house, under that hole, let me tell you, even with Chris and Candus walking by there, that mama dog would have came out. I know because absolutely. I had one that had puppies, and you don't get near their destination, period.
Right.
So there would have been a bigger dog come out. The mama dog would have came out and said, "Oh no, Get yourself away from here.
And
Really?
I'm going to tell you something about dogs. They're very protective. They're very protective over the people who live where they stay. If you have a pack of dogs running around, they protect the hands that feed them. I mean, it was those kids probably fed them dogs more than Candus and Don Wells. I mean, I'm sure those kids probably, when they got their dollar pizza, they gave the dog some, gave the dog some to, so they could eat too. And, these dogs are hungry, and kids are always throwing some of their food to the dogs. And these dogs are going to very much protect, the people on that property, because, that's the hands that's feeding them. And nobody, no, absolutely not. And dogs can sense. Dogs have, a dog senses. If a person is a predator and a person is about to do something evil to someone on that property, that dog, maybe the person don't overly sense it, but that dog does. And that dog will attack. That dog will attack. They have a sense. And if a dog feels like, like Summer, for instance, if a dog would have felt that Summer was afraid or feeling threatened, it would attack another person, just because it can sense her fear of that person. Dogs are very territorial. They're very territorial. And very dangerous,
Trust me.
Nobody's
I have three
trying to take nobody.
PG. I have 3 dogs.
Right.
And I have a privacy fence. When they walk down the sidewalk, you're seeing them move across the street because one of mine can put its head up there on the short part, the way it's made. But the short part, he gets his head up there, looks at them, and then they move across the street. Well, guess what? Mine are only like, my smallest one is 4 pounds, a teacup chihuahua. And then I have a French bulldog mix, and then I have one of their babies. But all 3 of my dogs protect my yard. If somebody comes in my drive, they're barking. My boyfriend can come in the drive early in the morning and they're barking at his car, but they don't know it's him. They'll bark at anything. I know this. I have 3 dogs.
Right.
So, and dogs will follow. The dogs would have followed Summer if she drifted off.
Right. Right.
And who fed the dogs? Some YouTubers down there too. They went and fed the dogs and the cats and whatever else they have up there. Like Benny said, don't sit down. You might have a roach go across your lap.
You're right. That's true. He did say that.
And remember when Benny also said, oh, I should have killed Don, or I should have unalived Don when I had the chance and got him like a fish in the woods. Yeah.
Like the news people when they went up there. When the news people were up there and that dog came barking, you could see the look on Domwell's face. Right when the dog barked, look at his face. He's like, oh, shit. And the same way with Grandis. If you
can hear the dog barking when Grandis is behind.
When you watch the news interview with Grandis and the dog barked, even she was like, oh, crap. Because they wanted to try to push the narrative that these dogs are gone or these dogs don't, bark and they're so friendly, and them dogs are not friendly at all, and they do bark, you know. So
Allie said she went up there. Allie said this herself. She went up there to feed them. And
right,
when she would show up in the driveway, they would come at her and bark. Allie said the same thing. They're not non-barkers.
right, exactly.
And a dog is going to follow anybody anywhere. And like Miss Marlena, when she
Allison said she went up there to feed them, and she said she got scared. She said that she got scared and had to throw the food out the, out the window of the car. She was throwing food because she got, those dogs scared her.
Yep.
She's like, those dogs were, she didn't feel safe. She didn't feel safe. And she was up there around them all the time. But when Don and Candus wasn't home, nobody was there to control them. They scared her, and had her back in her vehicle. So, and this is a woman that was, up there hanging with these dogs and got afraid of them. So, no, I won't ever believe that someone went up there and did anything at all.
No.
Absolutely not.
No. No way. No way. And with Don and Candus, like I said, when they don't do what, like Andy, he wants to come out and say,
you can see
oh, I think he's at Morrison Cemetery, and I'm not scared to say so. Okay, what about your dream, Andy? Because at first it was I seen Summer.
Well, first
body, then it came into a dream.
He said at first it was, a dream, right, of Summer and seeing, her on live body. That's true. And then he changed it to,
that was a dream.
A dream. And then he said that the dream was about, about seeing about funeral music and a grave. And then he said, no, I woke up on the morning of the 18th. It startled me out of my sleep, them having the funeral over there, playing that loud music, and it startled me out of my sleep that morning of the 18th, and that's what made me believe that she might have been in the grave over there. So he has gave 2 or 3, 4 or 5 different versions of, of everything about, her on-live body and the gravesite, reasoning for the gravesite and all this stuff. But the big thing is, when we went up there to that gravesite, it was completely covered over. It had been hidden. Even the flowers on it had been covered over and trying to be hidden. If anybody came, what they were thinking is if anybody came up here, they're not going to find this grave and they'll just leave. That's why they covered it over. They took all the brush and all the stuff they could find, and they covered that grave, that particular grave, the headstone and everything completely up, and hoping that you wouldn't be able to find it and you would just leave.
Why was there after flowers?
That was after. That was just a couple of months ago. That was just a couple of months ago.
Flowers at that place, and then at the waterhole.
Right, because
why did Candus?
Well, why did they have the memorial? Why was they having the memorial 2 months before June 15th? Because that's when they was cutting her hair, and that's when it's an inside an inside joke for them.
And when Don went down Beach Creek, when he's driving that route that he says he took, But when he drives, he says we. But when he pulls in, he says I. Because he caught himself saying we, and then he said I. And that's when he said, I've seen the boys up there by the shed.
Have you ever heard someone say, oh, that person was gone? That person was gone the day I heard about this or that. That person was gone, you know, when I caught him doing this or that. That person was gone. Well, I think that Don and Candus was, you know, basically saying that, you know, Summer was gone the minute that they started plotting against her and cutting her hair all off and doing the stuff they was doing down to the June, you know, down to the wire on June 15th. I think that's what they were doing. They were saying, you know, this is when she, you know, when she's gone. It's the minute they plotted against her. And that's why, you know, they had the memorial thing, put the flowers at the, you know, at the swimming hole, and they put the flowers up on the grave, and they put the little lights around the swing up there, is because, you know, they felt she was good as gone the minute they started to plot against her. That's my opinion. And you know, I'm pretty sure I'm right. You know, they feel she was gone the minute that they found out. I would say that's about the time that something happened that they knew they were going to have to get, you know, that they were going to have to start planning how to keep from going to prison. I think that when her hair got cut off, that is around the time that someone done something that couldn't be fixed. That's my opinion. And they didn't want to go to prison for it. They wasn't wanting to end up in jail. So they had to start planning on how they was going to make this child disappear so they didn't end up, you know, locked away for life. And
like when Marlena went over to another channel and you got the voice of it. Oh, well, I ain't been to Morrison Cemetery since Summer passed.
Right.
They all seem to know she passed.
I'm sorry that you feel that way, Summer McLean.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You feel that way, hon. Anyway.
You want me to get off of here? I'll get off of here.
Oh, absolutely not, Pam. Absolutely not. You know, I asked you up tonight because, you know, you're going through a lot, and I thought that, you know, you could hang out with us and take your mind off of your troubles for a little while. And girl, it's okay. It's okay. You know, you are most welcomed up here. You know, I'm sorry that people, you know, I think God wants us to be kind to one another, you know, no matter what. And
you get more with honey than you do vinegar.
And that is so true. But, you know, it's always good to have a good heart, you know, to have a kind, caring, loving heart. You know, it goes a long ways. And if you have
and
one,
like I've said before, PG,
God, thank you.
A lot of keywords means a lot. That's the thing.
Absolutely.
If you listen to the certain keywords of the story, like I think right there in that interview, she'll say, I think it was the water hole. Okay, you wouldn't have to think that it would be the water hole if
you knew
you were there.
Right, if you knew.
But like Hunter said, she was in the car putting minutes on her phone. And then Candus said, oh, we walked down to the water. Yeah.
Well, you know, I think a lot of people know that Grandis wasn't down there, because if Grandis had been down there, she'd have been on Candus's video. You know, nobody was on the video but Hunter and Candus holding the camera.
Why did she cut that? I want to talk about
that shows
why
that
did she cut the video off when Hunter got out there? Then she shut the video down.
Absolutely.
We didn't see Hunter bringing Summer out of the water or whatever.
The first part of the video tells us a lot more. You know, her shutting it off tells us something too. But the first part of the video talks louder than anything, because you can see on his face he looked at her like, what the hell are you doing? You know, and that right there gave it all away. Right there gave it all away. When, you know, that look on his face of shock and what the hell are you doing? And then he tried to play it off by throwing up, you know, just acting like, okay, you know,
the peace sign.
Right. Let's, you know, and then she shuts it off as he's going to the water. You know, pretty much.
Like you shut it down. She don't shut any other video down.
His face told everything right then and there, you know. And sometimes,
and I would like to know one thing, PG.
Talk louder than words.
I'd like to know one thing. Where did Burger King come in? Because
there was
Burger King came in way. Because remember, in the beginning, these people that was up there went to every destination.
And did you take note? I'm telling you, this is a group of people. And I even suspect that Tim Mullins and some other people are, whoever's running the Summer Wells, Find Summer Wells site. I have a feeling they're in on it, because if you took note, after Hunter said, you know, she got Burger King, she loves French fries, all this stuff. If you took note, and Tim Mullins posted out, he waited a while. But then he come back and posted out all the Burger King pictures, which I showed last night, of the kids at Burger King. But he didn't show the middle boy. He didn't show the middle boy. He kind of cut the middle boy out. And I think that was making a statement. I think that was making a statement that, you know, the middle boy is the problem. And the middle boy, you know, I think, you know, that was a statement that the middle boy is the problem. He's the one that's, you know, holding the younger boy not to go home or want to go home. And he don't want to go home. And, you know, everything would be cool if, you know, if the middle boy wasn't in the middle of everything, kind of thing. That's my opinion.
And Hunter brought up the Burger King story, though. But before, Hunter said, when Candus and Candus went into Priceless, him and Summer were watching TikTok, and that Summer fell asleep.
Yeah,
remember that?
The booger, and Hunter said he thought Summer was awake. He thought she got out at Allison's house, is what he was saying. He's, you know, he didn't. And then on his dad's recently, like 3-4 years later, he's saying, oh, she was asleep. And there's no way in hell that she was, you know, all of this is gaslighting. It's all a bunch of BS. You know, and they're pretty good at what they do. I gotta say that, you know, these criminal minds, you know, Allison's and Allison and her family, and Candus and that bunch, and Andy Bernard's, and even Fred Hill and his family. These people are all damn good at, you know, at the evil stuff they do. I got to give it to them. They, you know, they are pretty damn good, you know, but I don't think they're good enough. I don't think they're good enough. I think at some point we're going to hear that a lot of people's getting put in handcuffs for a lot of different reasons. And, you know, it's just going to take time. But I think,
well, it's like Andy was saying last night. It was like Andy was saying last night. Before, it was all just about weed. But then might be right in the chat.
And then, you know, and then he said other things, you know. Yeah, absolutely. I want to listen to let the people listen to this, Pam.
Okay.
Down a bunch of stuff away from the power lines.
Okay.
But usually it's full up. You can't even see the road.
That day, though, how was it? Was it full up, or was it like this?
That day and a few days prior to that, they were working on this.
Okay.
So I've even come to a conclusion maybe one of them people have snatched it.
Oh, interesting.
Because they were all the way up here on
yeah,
the
I see those.
You can't even see up on the hill. If you're down below, you can't even see up there. If you're up there, you can see down. But if you're down, you can't see up.
Okay, your mom's truck's right here.
Yes.
Okay, so when she's leaning against the milk. Is she sleeping?
She was sleeping, yes.
Okay. From exhaustion from that day?
Yes, she was. Where I woke her up early, and she usually sleeps until 9, 10, even 12 o'clock if I let her.
Okay. How did the milk bottles get rearranged? Hunter said he had them on the floor, and then he put them next to him.
They weren't.
Is that true?
No.
Okay, so walk me through that.
When we dropped them off, they were actually still on his lap.
Okay.
And he put them on the other side of Summer.
Okay. So he reached over?
Yeah, he set them over there by that. What's a black tote she had in there?
When you pulled up, when she's
By a black tote she had in there, and those are boxes. Those are cardboard boxes. There is no black tote anywhere. I don't see a black tote nowhere.
Where is
those are cardboard boxes. So what the hell is Candus talking about? A black tote? Whoa, that's something we missed, right?
And where
we missed that they had a black tote. Now, where's that black tote at, you guys? Where is the black tote? Because I've never seen one of those.
Where's the sweat off that milk?
Well, I'm more interested in the black tote now.
Did she just fall asleep next to that?
She fell asleep, I'd say maybe 5 minutes on the road.
Okay.
If she fell asleep 5 minutes down the road and was woken up early, shouldn't she have wanted to go in the house and go to sleep?
Oh, well, if she fell asleep 5 minutes down the road, then how did Allison see her asleep? Just like Allison said, when I went out to the vehicle, she was on the milk jugs asleep, just like in that photo. Now, if she fell asleep 5 minutes down the damn road, then there's no way Allison would have seen her asleep on milk jugs, right? Put a 1 in the chat if I'm right.
Exactly.
Right? So that means Allison lied. That means Allison is a liar. Right? Put a 1 in the chat if I'm right, y'all.
And a black tote, and you see, plain and simple, they were boxes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's why you got to keep going back, you guys. That's why we got to keep going back and coming forward. Now we know about a black tote. They had a black tote somewhere. Must have been in the back of that vehicle. There was a black tote. Where the hell did it go? And now we know that Allison lied because Summer supposedly falls asleep 5 minutes down the road. So that means she wouldn't have been sleeping at all when Hunter got out of the vehicle, right? So,
exactly.
So this is all lies. This is all lies.
Remember,
why did they feel like?
And Candus
why
went
do
up
they
there
feel,
the day after Hunter supposedly went to the police station and told them?
No, he didn't go to no police station. The police came to Allison's house. Detectives came to Allison's house to speak to Hunter.
Okay, when they spoke to Hunter,
but
Candus came the next day and said, "Don't tell them about the twisted tea or the vapes." Well, don't tell him about that. And he said, "I already did."
Well, no, that ain't the problem. That ain't the problem. The problem is that the reason he told the detectives about the twisted tea and the vapes and stuff was to get the detectives off the main topic, which was Summer. And you know, and they couldn't prove that's that's he said, she said. What you don't understand is Hunter, they know the law good enough to know they could use that to get, you know, to get law enforcement um directed in, you know, in a different area in order to get off the topic of Summer. And it wouldn't go nowhere because there was no proof. There's no proof that Candus did any of this. Nobody's seen it. Nobody was witness to it. So it was he said, she said bullshit. And nothing can be done about it. And that's what they do. They use stuff like that to keep you, to deter people off the main topic. They're very good at it. They're very good at it.
Exactly. And
And
Candus and Dawn are street smart. They may not be book smart, but they're street smart.
right, right. So now we know there's a black tote. Now we know Allison lied. I told you guys. I told you guys. And you know, Hunter's all shook up and he's having all these issues. I'm telling you. They, you know, and here you go. Allison has cameras, but they all disappeared. All the cameras disappeared. All the cameras on Ben Hill Road disappeared except the one down the road leading out onto Beach Creek that caught Candus coming out following Chad Arnold. So, yeah. Actually,
yeah, like Allie said.
I think that, you know, I think we are so on the money. I think we are so on the money when it comes to, you know, she wasn't alive on the milk jugs. I think we're so on the money there.
Look at her hands. They're blue.
This kind of proves it because, you know, if these people were innocent, there's no damn reason to lie. Allison was lying about Summer being on those milk jugs asleep and all the bullshit to protect her boy. And now, and by what Candus just said, we know it. We know that that's the truth. You know, in my opinion, that's the truth. And why law enforcement can't prosecute this case, I have no idea. Because I think they got enough to put these people behind bars and throw away the keys, if you ask me. That's my opinion. Because I know I sure would. If I was sitting on a jury, I'd say, oh yeah, that sure to hell is what happened. And I would definitely say, yeah. You know, put Hunter in jail, put Candus in jail, put Grandis in jail, put Don Wells in jail. And you know what? Let's find some more. Let's find some more because there's probably more of them.
There's more than one, and I've said it before. There's more than one crime that happened around Summer's case. There's selling weed and all of that. I don't care. It's a drug. If it's not legal, it's a drug. I don't do drugs, so.
All right.
I have never drank. It better be Pepsi or I don't drink at all.
Right. Right.
I don't do drugs, but all of this story situation, you got to put it in place where it fits. And that's like, it's so important, like you said, to go back to the beginning, play everything that came from Dawn and Candus's mouth, and I bet you'll have the story. Remember when Candus said that she wanted, the cop asked her what she needed, and she said some alcohol? Like a cop's going to buy you some alcohol. Come on.
Right. And
ain't nobody going to buy her alcohol.
I don't know. I don't know because, You know, I'm not so sure about that because, Jody Sue and Andy called law enforcement. Well, Mr. Dobbs came into Ben Hill Road and met up with Dom Wells first. And then Dom Wells went up on his property. Next thing Mr. Dobbs knows, Andy and Jody Sue's descending down on him. Right? So Dom Wells was the one. Dom Wells is the one that tipped Andy and Jody Sue off that Dobbs was down there. And this Dobbs had a legal deed to his property up there. And they weren't willing to give it to him. They weren't willing to let him on it. They called law enforcement, and law enforcement chases a man off that paid hard-earned money for a piece of property, and even law enforcement wouldn't let him go up there and claim it. So, with that being said, would law enforcement go and get somebody, something to drink like that? I probably would. I wouldn't put it past them at this point. If they'd run a man off of his own property that has a legal deed to it, and God only knows what they're capable of doing. I don't know. I mean, that's my opinion.
I'll tell you what, everybody up there on Ben Hill and Beach Creek, and you could go look it up. Everybody up there on Beach Creek and Ben Hill are related one way or another.
Right? Well, I wanted to listen to the rest of this.
Go ahead.
Actually, I parked the truck and I opened both doors. It's really hard because this lawnmower is. But I opened the doors up and I shook her. I said, "Wake up, we're at home." She jumped right up.
Okay.
Like nothing. I unbuckled her and I said, "Come on." I said, "Mom, I'll be right back." Went in there and got the boys, and they were sitting at the table. And I said, "Come on, let's get the groceries out." And we brought them all in the house, went through them all, did all that.
Boy, I'm looking at this and
see, the boys didn't help Grandma. She said, "I went in the house, I got the boys, they came out." She didn't unbuckle Summer, and Summer didn't jump right up. She called the boys out so they get the groceries and stuff and it couldn't have been much. But that was the plan. Let's call them out to get a few groceries because they're hungry. They'll want to eat. They'll run them back. They'll see their sister run them back in the house, and they just assume that she's running around somewhere there. And we can gaslight them into believing that somehow she got gone.
Remember when they were at Priceless, they were supposed to go in and buy milk and cheese.
Oh, yeah, she's definitely lying. But as you heard her say, the boys helped her, not Grandis. Grandis lied. The boys didn't ever help Grandis carry nothing. They didn't help Grandis carry anything.
This terrain, Candus, just strikes me as being so dense and just... Is that they say the dog trail? Where's this dog trail thing?
I'm not sure, honestly.
Dawn Wells tells me Summer was last seen going to the basement to play with her toys. Her 3 older brothers upstairs, her mother and grandmother in the yard facing a...
Busted, Candus. You're busted right there. You're busted. Look at that. That right there is the door they're trying to say Summer entered out of. No way. Look. And right there was a mother dog. A mother dog with puppies right there in that hole. No way in hell somebody's going to come up there without that dog carrying on, coming out of there. Like I said, dogs sense danger, and it would have been out of there along with the rest of them dogs all over someone if they came up there. That is a case closed right there. That is case closed when it comes to somebody being there. I agree with Ronnie Lawson. No signs of an abduction. Absolutely not. And I agree with Pruitt. They did a deep dive search, and then they did an extra deep dive one at a later date, and nothing. So I agree with him too. Wandering off is pretty much off the table. I'm going to tell you, I knew when the detectives kept coming up there to talk to Candus. I knew then who they had their sights on when it came to this child missing. And they had their sights on no one except Grandis, Candus, and Don Wells. And you know, and if law enforcement, you know, get smart enough, if they get smart enough to really go after this case and, you know, and solve it, if they really, you know, got smart enough to, you know, to pull out all the stops, you know, all the solid stuff. And there's a lot of solid stuff. There's a lot of facts in this case, a lot of facts. And if they could just, you know, put those facts from A to Z, they could prosecute. They, you know, they have a case and they have in my opinion, they have a case that can be prosecuted. If they just knew, you know, if they were just smart enough to understand how to go about it. That's my opinion.
But that's another thing.
You know,
we're working our hardest on Summer.
Something isn't right because they got away with
as hard as we are.
Well, here's the thing. They got away with abuse and gross neglect on those children. Abuse and gross neglect. So here's my thing. I'll let that go. I'll let that go because, you know, they dropped everything. They dropped everything, you know. Don and Candus avoided prosecution for that. They avoided prosecution by signing the kids over to the state. Yep. So, you know, okay. I understand that they found it was more important to get the kids signed over into their custody than it was, you know, to adopt them out and keep them safe than, you know, to proceed with some prosecution on that. And you know, I got to say that, okay, that's a good call. That's a good call. But here's the other thing. Here's the other thing. They also, you know, was cruelty to animals and animal abuse up there. Candus literally, you know, when Don went to jail, she literally walked off and left a bunch of dogs up there to basically starve, right? She just walked off and leaves all of these animals up there, don't care what's going to happen to them. And, you know, and no, so many people were concerned with these animals, but Don and Candus wasn't. They weren't concerned at all with these animals or the well-being of these animals. Other people had to intervene to get these animals picked up and taken away and you know, and treated with some love, kindness, and respect. And Candus wasn't charged at all with, you know, with being inhumane to animals. So what the hell's going on? I mean, how do they keep avoiding charges and avoiding charges and avoiding charges? You know, something ain't right. Something ain't right in this case. I mean, you got to have something on. You got to have something on some pretty, you know, pretty high up people in order to be able to avoid all the things that these people has been, you know, avoiding. I mean, you know, if this was an average Joe, his ass would have been prosecuted. He would have been prosecuted and put in prison. There's something, you know, there's something wrong. Something just don't feel right where the law is and the court system is in all of this.
How are they able, even after losing all of them dogs, able to get more when they go back up on the hill?
Right. That's, you know, that's what I'm saying. I don't know, girl. I have no idea. But, you know, the thing is you heard Candus, you know, say, you know, you got basically, you have here we go. You got Marlene.
What's up, too? PG said that I've been at Morrison Cemetery. I've not been there not one time since summer has passed. Or what?
Since summer has passed. Did you hear what she said? Since summer has passed. I haven't been to Morrison Cemetery one time since summer has passed. Listen to that.
And let's just clear this up, too. PG said that I've been at Morrison Cemetery. I've not been there not one time since summer has passed. Or whatever.
And
There
then
you
she
go.
wanted to.
There you go.
You see, she
Now,
cut herself
well,
off.
hold on, Pam, hold on. I'm not done here. You heard what Marlena just said. Summer passed. I think she's in Morrison Cemetery. I'm not scared to say it, right? I'm not scared to say it. Right here, Miss Bunny. Even Miss Bunny goes to say, you know, stuff about all of these things. And then she says, you know, that she went, you know, about Ben Hill Road and Simpson and all of this. But that, you know, that isn't what I'm particularly looking for right here. There you go. Right here's what I'm looking for. There was a freshly dug grave. It was filled in, and the service held the morning after Summer vanished across from the houses. No, it was held actually 3 days later, after Summer vanished. But because it's what woke Andy up, you know, and that's why he says, you know, he ain't afraid, that he believes she's over there. But you got Marlena talking about the grave. You saying that, you know, she ain't been there since summer passed. You got Andy, you know, supposedly saying he's the last one to see her on live body, you know, and all of this and that. And he's talking about the cemetery. You got Jody Sue talking about this cemetery. You got Don and Candus over there leaving flowers on this particular grave site when they're having a little memorial for Summer. You know, everything's pointing to that cemetery. Everything's pointing to that particular grave site that needs to be checked into. And why law enforcement ain't checking into it, I don't understand. Now, I heard there's something behind the scenes. You know, they got some tips, and they are in the right now in the process of, you know, trying to follow this particular tips. And I do think that's the graveyard. So hopefully they get clearance to go over there and, you know, exhume or do whatever it takes to see if Summer's in there. And I think that is what they're, you know, right now, what's in the works. If you ask me, that's my opinion. But you have all of these people, you know, saying the same thing, all of them. And then you have this right here.
Her garden also says that I pulled in behind her when she was over there looking for that grave one day when they was in a white Toyota Camry. And I was in a big black truck stalking them like Chad.
Hi. You see, he told on Chad. He screwed up right there. And let us know.
Like Chad.
Now, hold on, because he came in here. Remember when Andy came in here and he put the comment in my chat saying, hey, I saw you Prayer Garden and your little friend over at the or I saw your little friend at the graveyard, because he didn't see me. I asked him, I said, did you see me in the vehicle? No. Well, he wasn't looking too hard, but it wasn't him. I knew it wasn't him, you know, the guy didn't fit his description. So anyway, and neither did the truck. And everybody said, oh, Chad owns that truck. Well, Marlena confirmed that, yes, Chad owns that particular truck, that kind of truck. And Andy said, you know, he says, you know, the way Chad's talking. So the thing is he knows that Candus went down and met up with Chad followed Chad out. Everybody knows that Chad got followed out of Ben Hill Road by Candus, and they went somewhere. I think it was right over to Morrison Cemetery. And then Chad is so worried. He knows that Andy and them mentioned that cemetery, and they've been keeping an eye on it to see if, detectives or law enforcement or, if anybody's going to be coming up there to check it out. They even tried to hide the grave. They even tried to hide that grave. So, the point being is there, these people are stalking this man. They're stalking this man's gravesite for a reason. And they're stalking anyone that goes up there to look for this gravesite and, and to inquire about this gravesite. They're stalking them too. And, I asked him, did you see me? He said, no. That's because I was ducked down into the floorboard because I seen them coming. And my friend got out and went looking. And my friend is the one was heading back to the vehicle to go to another graveyard. He thought he had the wrong graveyard. And we was going to go down the road to another one of them when, like I said, the sun came out, come beaming down, and he saw, this shiny, real dark rock or something on the ground, and he reached down to see what it was. He wanted to see what it was. Curiosity. And he bent down to, see what this rock was, and he started, moving stuff, and it happened to be Timothy Morrison's tombstone that had been hidden. Like all this stuff had been put on it, and it was hiding. And he cleared it off, and then he, started taking the brush off, and that's when, the flowers were seen that was on there. And so he took pictures. He took pictures of everything. And at the time he started to take in the pictures, that's when the truck went flying out of there. And that's when they got a hold of Andy and, told about, people are up there at the graveyard, looking into this particular grave. So, Chad Arnold's back at the gravesite stalking people up. And that's what, and that pretty much tells you that's where him and Candus went that day. If he's sitting up there staring at this gravesite, worried, somebody's going to find Summer down in there, then she must be there, right? That's my opinion. She must be there. Because it's abnormal for somebody to be stalking a cemetery that, isn't even close to their home. It's not even, that close for them to be doing that. His old lady and him are supposedly split up, to my understanding. According to Marlena, Chad and her sister is split up. And Chad is living, somewhere else. And Marlena's sister is living over in that area. But that still doesn't, make no understandings for why he's stalking that cemetery up. Why is he up there, stalking the cemetery? Why is he making, daily rounds inside that place to see if anybody's looking into that grave? Because he's paranoid and he's worried. And, and when you know where something is, like if you went out and you buried, for instance, if you went out and you buried, maybe, you and your family decided to make one of those, memory type boxes, one of those capsules, one of those time capsule things, and put it in the ground, right? You go out and you put it in the ground, or maybe your grandparents got something and you made a time capsule with your grandparents and put it in the ground somewhere. From time to time, you're going to visit it. You're going to visit it when you're, you're a kid. You come to your grandparents, you're going to want to run out and see. When you get a teenager, you're going to remember and go out to see. When you're an adult, even when you're older, you're going to go out and you're going to remember that spot where the time, that time capsule is. And, people have a way of, like your pet, for instance, a pet. Maybe, you put a pet at your parents' home or something. And, when you go back to your parents' home and you're standing on the porch or whatever, your mind goes right out there to where the pet's at, right? Your mind goes straight out to where the pet is. People don't forget where something is. And, and they have a habit of revisiting it. Well, just imagine if you committed a crime and had something in the ground, had something out, it's not a pet or it's not a time capsule. Say that you had something out there like, very vital, and connected to a crime. Well, hell yeah, you're going to look, right? You're going to be looking. I'm going to be looking. I'm going to be looking every damn day. I'm going to be looking. I'm going to see if anybody's disturbed that piece of ground. I'm going to be, I'm going to be looking to make sure that ground ain't sinking. I'm going to be looking to make sure, that it don't look like it's been messed with or dug on, or, you know what I'm saying? You're going to be looking because you're going to be nervous, especially if it's underneath something you can't move to get it out. It's not like you can go out there and just retrieve it and put it somewhere else. It's underneath something that you ain't able to move. That's going to make you even worry more. You're going to be worried more because you can't get to it. Right?
Somebody was asking if you could pull up that video, but is it the same cemetery where Bullhorn Betty was when them bricks were around it?
Hey, did you think that could be where the black tote went? Candus said there was a black tote in that vehicle. Yeah. Where did the black tote go? Those were brown cardboard boxes. There was no freaking black tote anywhere to be seen, baby. And she's talking about a black tote. A black tote, black dirt. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying is, you can't, if you put like a big blue tote down in the ground, it could be spotted. If you put a big red one down there, it could be spotted. But you want to get something the color of the dirt, right? A black tote, black dirt. You put it down in there, it really ain't going, it ain't going to be real noticeable. I mean, if some of the dirt got a little scraped off, or, it's not going to be noticeable. So, that makes perfect sense right there. And if Summer's down in there and she is inside of a tote, if she really is inside of a tote, oh, hell, she's probably still, they're probably still able to determine the cause of death and everything else. I mean, that would be bad. That would be really, really bad for whoever put her in there. I mean, if they would have just stuck her like underneath there in the dirt, then they wouldn't really be anything left to test or anything. But if she's in a tote, oh wow. I mean, she could look the way she did when they put her in there. Because, putting it down in there and then lowering, the vault and a coffin in there. that's going to seal. That's going to seal the tote to no air or water or nothing can get to it. And it's going to preserve what's in it. And therefore, there's still a good chance. I mean, if she's in there and she's in a tote, there is a real good chance that they'll be able to tell everything. Because there'll be skin, there'll be, there'll be everything left to be able to be tested. Yeah, that would be real bad. That would be.
And there was only, in that truck, if you notice, there was only one tote, but it was red with wood in it in the back of that truck. But where did the black one come in?
Candus said that there was a black tote back there. That
exactly.
Those milk jugs were against a black tote she was laying on. There was no black tote. Those were two big brown boxes.
Exactly.
So it sounds like when they got up on the hill, when Candus Post been out there talking to Mommy, they were out there putting her in a black tote and putting her back up in the vehicle. And when Candus met up with Chad, it sounds like Summer must have been back there already in a black tote when they went out of Ben Hill Road, wherever they, in my opinion, Morrison Cemetery. But, when they came out of Ben Hill Road, if they went over to Morrison Cemetery, then that means she was in a black tote, which means they put that down in the ground. And that, and that means that there's possibility that she's completely preserved because of everything on top of her. She's completely, preserved enough that, my gosh, there's a lot that can, they could probably figure out everything. They probably could figure out if, if she was indeed, they could probably figure out exactly why she had to be, done away with.
And didn't Fred say at one time?
Yeah.
Didn't Fred say at one time, you might want to ask him, but didn't Fred say at one time at the cemetery, I don't know if it's now, but before, that cemetery didn't require vaults?
Right.
But I don't know if they require them now, but
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because his casket would be on top of that tote, which would be protecting, would seal. It would airtight seal the tote. Even a casket, the heaviness of it would, would basically make the tote airtight. Which would, preserve. It would preserve everything. Wow, that would be amazing. That would be amazing if that's what, if that's what they done. I mean, that would be a real gift handed over to law enforcement.
Lady Sue said, PG, get in touch with Don B and see if he is going to still try to do the ground radar.
Hey, you guys heard. And they might have put her in that rubber tote. Listen, now I do know that, like if you have rubber inside of a garage or inside of a room, if you have rubber on the ceiling, when a plane comes over, them planes that come over and able to send the stuff through their home, when they beam down and they can see people moving around inside of the house and stuff like the heat. They can, the sensor, when they put the sensor through the house and they can see people moving around because of the body heat. If you have like rubber on the ceiling, they cannot see through that room. They are not able to see the people, the heat. They could not see anyone in that room or any type of heat in that room. What I'm saying is, a lot of people put, like, people who grow, people who, you know, use a room to grow the goody good stuff, and they have the lights, you know, the heat lamps in the room. What they do is they put that rubber on the ceilings, and that way, if one of those things fly over, they won't be able to sense that heat from the lamps that's growing the stuff. And that's how, you know, a lot of them get away with being able to. I'm not here to educate you guys on that kind of stuff. You know,
PG, check your back chat. Somebody just said somebody's in the back chat.
But you know, that's what it is. It's Maddie. It's Maddie. I don't see her though. It's Australia's little girl, Maddie, and she's a sweetheart. I love that little girl. Hello, Maddie. I give a shout out to Maddie. She's a sweetie. But yeah, you know, that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. They probably stuck her inside. They probably thought because they put her in a Rubbermaid tote, even if they put a sensor on there to try to detect anything, that it ain't going to be able to penetrate. You know, it ain't going to be able to penetrate through that Rubbermaid tote. So, you know, they probably would have to, maybe possibly, I think they would be able to see the tote though. I think that, you know, they probably could see that there's something, you know, something besides dirt in there, and be able to get it out. So, you know, that was a stupid move. That was a stupid move right there, because they'll still be able to see the tote. Or,
it's all the inconsistencies too. I mean,
something, you know, a foreign object is, you know, because you'll have dirt, then a foreign object, and space, and then, you know, dirt. So they'll be able to tell something's there besides the dirt. And that's going to make them, you know, that's going to make them lift it out anyway. So, you know, that was really stupid. That don't make no sense to me.
Exactly. And with all the inconsistencies of the...
Oh, there she is. Hey, Maddie, how you doing, sweetie?
Hello, good, how are you?
Doing good, girlfriend.
That's
you being good. You've been being good.
Yeah, I've been recovering from surgery.
I heard.
Yeah, a lot better today, though.
Keeping you in our prayers, girl. Yeah, I know.
Thank you.
It's healing good, right? It's healing good.
Yeah, I'm off crutches now. I'm walking on the side of my foot.
Those prayers are helping. Those prayers are working.
They sure are. It's freezing here.
God brings you to it, girl. He's gonna bring you through it. You'll be okay.
How have you been?
I've been good.
That's good.
Yeah, this is Australia's little girl. Man, she's beautiful too. She's beautiful inside and out. She is a kindred spirit. She is definitely a little spirit. Yeah, you beautiful girl. You stay that way. You hear me?
Sure will. I'm a good girl for my age. I don't drink. I don't party.
That's right. That's right.
I stick to myself and my friends. That's all I do.
That's the smartest.
You sound just like your mama.
You reckon?
Hey, she's pretty like her mama too. She's pretty, just like her mama.
People get us mixed up on the phone sometimes.
You're right.
Funny.
Yeah.
Sometimes I answer Mum's phone when she's driving and I talk.
Is it still cold here? Is it still?
Yeah. The cold air is blowing through my foot because I got a sock on, and I had to cut a hole in the sock for my big toe to stick out.
Oh, yeah.
I get stitches out tomorrow. Mum's taking me to get the stitches out
Oh,
tomorrow.
thank God. Thank God.
Yeah, they cut half of the nail off, like in between. You'd cut it in the middle. They cut half of it off and then stitched it together.
I
It's
know.
gross.
Whoa.
I can't
Yeah.
wait to be able to go and get my nails painted.
Sometimes they have to remove the whole entire nail.
Oh, yuck.
That's that right there.
Yeah.
When I was
That's
my
the
young
second
adulthood,
surgery I got on the same toe.
I was either late teens or early adulthood.
Yeah.
I dropped something.
Oh.
Really heavy on my foot. And
Screw that.
yeah. And the nail, thank God the nail just fell off on its own. And yeah. And
did it go black?
And had to grow back. But yeah, I was lucky because, I wasn't about to go to no doctor, but
How long did it take to grow back?
Oh Lord, it seemed like forever, right? I was like hiding my feet. I'm wearing footies. I'm wearing footies at the beach.
Oh, what are footies?
Right? I mean,
what are they?
You don't want nobody seeing your foot when you ain't got a nail.
I've been walking around in a sock when I'm out in public. I'm just wearing a bed sock.
I'm gonna tell you, like, it was horrible. It was horrible.
Yeah, couldn't imagine.
I went to the emergency room, and the doctors laughed. No, they laughed. They was like Freddie Flintstone type thing, and
I love that show.
And making the using her hand to make like the pulsating thing, of Freddie Flintstone's toe, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I guess I just came here to to give everybody a laugh, right? PG's comedy show at the hospital, but
yeah.
And then all they did is take some tape. All they did is take some tape and just tape one toe to the other one, and send you home.
Yeah, Mum taped my toe together today.
Yeah, if you have a broken toe or anything, they can't do nothing for it. Just tape it to the next one. Hell, I could have did that myself.
Gee, I couldn't imagine how much it would cost in America. God,
right?
I paid $380 and got back $200. It wasn't that expensive, but
and and I learned about the butterfly stitching, and if it's not too bad, sometimes you have to get the real ones. But if it's not real bad, they can do the butterfly. And so I always ask, like, one of my kids, fell on their bike and got a boo-boo, and I had to take them, and and I told the doctor, the doctor's like, oh, I'm just going to probably take a couple, and I was like, can't we just butterfly it? And they're like, the other way, don't scar or whatever. And I'm like,
mine's definitely scarred.
Why are we worried about a scar? I'm saying this is your war wounds. You want to show, that's what, you want to show your war wounds when you're a kid, look what happened. And if you ain't got nothing to show, they're like, yeah, right. I
always point out on my foot from when I was in preschool.
Right.
But I scraped my foot on a bike, and I said to Mum, I did this when I was about 3 years old in kindergarten. Anyway, sweetie,
my boyfriend's a diabetic.
Oh.
And
wow, that would be horrible.
He went from 10 toes to 8 toes, so he's got the same toe off of each foot.
Oh.
Whoa. Yeah, we don't want to hear about that.
Anyway, I'm going to go and soak my foot. You guys have a good night, and God bless you.
Hey, girl, you take care. God be with you, hon.
You too.
He'll help you.
Good night, sweetie.
Good night, Pam. Good night, PG.
Hey, I love you, girl.
Love you.
Love yous. Bye.
Bye.
Hello, Carrie Hall. I just had to say that.
It just had to slip out.
Yep, I just had to say it.
I heard
Hey,
that.
PG, do you do them diamond arts?
No. Girl,
Man, you know what I could buy a diamond art for here? Right here where I'm at, I could get diamond arts for $5.
Wow.
I
Wow.
just got one today.
Right?
I just got two things. I got a bank. That's a diamond art. I can't do them because I shake too much. Tremors off the
Right.
seizure.
I'm going to tell
And
you,
I
I
got
got
a
the patience.
tissue boxed. That's a diamond art.
I have not got the patience to be, you know, I tell you what, I can build. I can, you know, I can put in baseboard. I can rip out. I can literally rehab a whole house. You know, when it comes to hammers and nails and you know, construction work and stuff, hey baby, I'm right there. I can, you know, hold my own with it. And like a lot of things, I can hang curtains, clean a house like nobody's business. I can decorate. I can do all kinds of stuff. But when it comes to that arts and crafts stuff and that knitting and crocheting and oh hell no. I can't, no way. I cannot concentrate long enough I can't even concentrate long enough. It sometimes takes me 3 days to watch a movie because I just cannot concentrate enough. I can't sit still that long. I cannot sit still that long. I got shit to do. I got to go.
I'll tell you what, my nephew was over the other day, my niece and nephew.
Right?
And I was letting them put some skulls on the fence. You know me and my skulls. We always.
Right?
And they were putting 3 of them on. They found 2 that they wanted to take home with them. So he took one and she took the other. And my nephew said, "Oh, I like this mower."
PG's little girl.
PG's
little girl. She looking to
what
get
is the difference between a battery operated mower and a self-propelled that goes by itself? Okay, one uses gas, one uses a battery. What's the difference?
Right.
It's a mower. You got to mow the grass.
But everybody likes to try out, you know, new stuff. You know, it's like when you know, like all the yard equipment and stuff has gone to battery operated. When before people, you know, you had to have that great big long cord, you know, to trim the bushes or to, you know, like you had to plug in the, you know, the blower to, you know, blow the weeds away, all the debris. Everything was, you know, there for a while. Everything was like plug in, and you thought it was pretty cool, you know, because it's easier and it's new. But when the battery stuff came out, oh, I'm going to tell you what, girl, it was like amazing. You didn't have to pull the cord around with you anymore. You didn't have to worry about, you know, cutting into it or anything like that. I mean, it was just amazing. It was amazing. But personally, I like the gas lawnmower better than I do, you know, the electric or battery. I like the gas. I like the gas lawnmowers. You just fill them up and baby, you go. You know,
yeah.
Pull the string, you're at it.
I have my discs are compressing against my spine. So getting out there and mowing the yard is a problem.
She said, "What,
I want to get the whole yard mowed."
She's
and
in
this
here.
is a rough time right now.
Little brother, she says, little brother cannot have a nail gun, Mama PG. You better believe little brother can't. Let me tell you right now, that child has been on me to get one of these things. And I'm like, absolutely not. I'm going to tell you right now, you should see that child. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Like,
I got a battery operated chainsaw and it's a handheld one?
Let me tell you. Hold on 1 second, Pam. I'm sorry. Let me tell you the newest thing that little brother did. Little Mr. Fix-It. I tell you what little Mr. Fix-It did it recently to me. Okay. I told you guys, I've been, trying to get some things done around the house that, that's just been on my nerves needing to be done. Well, replacing some grout. I don't know how many people, is familiar with flooring, but if you have marble, towel or whatever on your floors, you have they're grouted, and sometimes the grout, starts wearing out or whatever, and you have to redo it, right? Well, let me tell you what little Mr. Fix-It here lately did. He's going to help me. He's going to help me get it done. Okay, so we spend like a whole freaking day, because you have to put it on, and then you have to wipe each square off. You got to use a sponge and water, a bucket, and you have to each square. And this is really hard on your knees. If you ain't got the knee pads, it can be, or a pillow you throw down, to put your knees on. Hard floors like that are very hard on the knees, and God knows I'm not as young as I used to be, right? Okay. With that being said, we spend a whole day getting this stuff, regrouting all of this. Okay, the next day I have to, run somewhere. And I said, hey, are you coming? And he says, no. He's not coming, and he's going to stay with this uncle and his other brother and stuff. They're going to stay at the house. And I said, okay, that's all right. So, I take my other son and my daughter and me, and we take off. We take off to go run some errands and get some things done. Well, long story short, while I'm out getting this stuff done, little Mr. Fix-It decides that he didn't like some parts of the grout work. And what does he do? While I'm gone, he gets, a brush thing, and he goes whacking at the job we just finished and needed to completely dry. There wasn't nothing wrong really with the grout. What was wrong is it hadn't completely, dried to the point that it's all one color. And oh my goodness, you should have seen that mess. When I got back, I couldn't believe it. I was like, what happened? Right? I know some outsider had to come in and do this, because, it couldn't be anybody I know, right? This cannot be someone I know that would do this. Who has a vendetta against me? And I'm going to tell you, it was little Mr. Fix-It. And I tell you what, I told him next time I leave, he is going with me. There is no way I'm leaving him home. No way.
What I do with the floor tiles?
Right.
I use pillow stick. We have cement floors, so if I'm going to replace a floor, I'll clean it off first, and then I'll pillow stick the tile.
My boy blew up my car twice. I'm going to tell you, my kids don't. I'm like, I tell them, I said, oh my goodness, I thought that I had to watch you every second when you're little, right? I mean, I wouldn't think I have to watch them every second now, but I do. I do. I went and I bought a few new knickknacks, right? I went and got some new knickknacks, figurines, some figurines. And because, I had a place to put them for real. I had a place to put them. And then I decided to change, some things around. I decided to, move some of the furniture around. And while I was moving it around, I had set these figurines aside, right? I set them aside so, nothing would happen to them. I just set them aside to, finish up, what I was rearranging and everything. And then I couldn't find them. Right? And then I go to my daughter's room. I didn't go to a room for the figurines. I went to her room, just to hang out and talk to her for a few minutes. And while I'm sitting in her room, hanging out and talking to her, I start to look around, and guess what I see? My figurines on her shelf. And I'm like, that's where they went, right? And then I looked, I was going to say something, and I looked at her, and I'm telling you, my daughter just has the cutest damn face. She's just got the cutest freaking face, and she's always got this big smile on it. And I thought, hell, what's a few figurines, I don't know. I'm a damn sucker for my kids, right?
That's like when everybody
say nothing, girl. I couldn't say nothing. Like I just keep them. I love this kid so much. I mean, when I first spotted them, though, I was like, "Whoa, that's where they are." I'm going to say something to this girl, and
you didn't say nothing. You know better,
right? She's always taking my stuff. And I promise you, my closet is mother. I got a bunch of freaking racks and no clothes. I got a bunch of fucking racks hanging up my closet and no clothes, people. Let me tell you right now, she like wipes me out. She wipes my clothing out. I'm like, oh my goodness. And like I get up some days like, what the hell am I going to wear? Where did all my stuff go? I mean, my dresses, I could go shopping. I can get 5 dresses. I promise you, I could pick out 5 dresses. Here's the thing. She gets to pick out a ton of stuff too. It's not like, I buy for, mommy just goes out and buys all kinds of stuff for herself. No, I take this child shopping all the time and I get nothing, absolutely nothing. I'm always buying her tops and I'm buying her dresses and I buy her stuff constantly. And then like, once in a while, if things are on sale or it's a good deal, or if I really love it and can't do without it or think I can't, then I pick it up, and I bring it home and I put it in my closet. And I put, and a lot of my clothes, because I'm one of those comfy people, I like my sweat clothes, and I like my, my jeans and certain tops, and a lot of times, my clothes are left in the closet. They could be hanging in there for maybe a month or 2 with the tags on them because I really ain't went nowhere to, overly wear them or anything. And you know how it is. You women know how it is. You're like, you pick up this stuff and you're like, oh, if I go here, I go there, I can wear this, and then like you ain't going really no freaking place but the grocery store and cleaning house and doing the yard and going to work and, so you really ain't doing shit. And that nice dress that you bought hoping, maybe you go out to dinner in it or you go, somewhere, wear it someplace. Well, you ain't going no place, right? You're having cookouts and cooking your own meals, and hell, you can't wear it to McDonald's, right? You can't wear it to fucking McDonald's. So it just hangs there. I'm not mine. Mine ain't going to hang there, people. Mine's going to be gone. My dress is going to be gone. I don't even know, I don't half this stuff I don't even see again. And, I tell my daughter, I said, where's all my clothes? Oh, you can have whatever you want out of my closet, Mom. You can wear some of mine. I'm like, no, I want to know where the hell mine is.
Look in her closet.
Listen to this. And then she's like, what are you looking for? Oh, I'm actually looking for that blue top I just bought. Oh, I was going to wear that today. You was going to wear that today. Okay. What about my other top? What about my pink one or my green one? Oh, they haven't been washed yet. So I ain't got nothing of mine. What I want to wear is dirty, or else you're getting ready to put it on. What am I supposed to put on? Right? What am I supposed to put on? And my daughter's like, I don't know. What are you going to put on? Man, sometimes I have to turn around and go out of her room. I have to go out of her room and count to 10. Like, I got to physically walk out and count to 10. Like, 1, 2, 3, 4. Where's my cigarettes? I need a cigarette. I got to have one. I better get a cup of coffee while I'm at it, because, I don't care how cute she is. I'm about to open a can of whoop, you know what, on this child. I'm going to tell you, that child gives me a run for my money. Trust me.
And all these people that go out and buy, spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I know people can do it. Spends hundreds and hundreds on flowers, right?
You know what, my daughter comes and
you know what I did?
You know what she comes and
I went out and bought a lot.
She says, if I tell you something, she said, if I tell you something, promise you ain't gonna get upset. I said, when do I get upset? I don't ever get upset. And she's like, well, this might make you upset. I'm like, I don't think so. Nothing's going to make me upset. My mind frame, I'm not smart enough to get upset. Honey, what's going on? And she'd be like, you know that $70 pair of, pumps you just bought? Mm-hmm. Well, would you be upset if it ain't got a heel on it no more? What? How the heck did you break a heel off of a pair of shoes? How did you even manage that? Right? How did you manage to do that? I don't even know. You know what? She still ain't told me. She still hasn't told me how she managed to do that. I don't think she wants to. I don't even think I want to.
All these people are spending all this money on flowers. I do it. I buy artificial flowers.
My daughter loves those artificial flowers. She loves them. She absolutely, every time we go, she gets them for the 4th of July, and she gets them for, listen to this. She gets them at Christmas time, and then she gets them at springtime, Easter, and then she gets them at the 4th of July, and then she gets them, at Thanksgiving, the fall flowers, and then she wants more at Christmas time. And so, and she's been doing this for like a few years now, like probably 3, 4, 5 years. I don't know. She's been doing it for a while. It's been a while. I've been buying these, artificial and those things can be expensive. Like some of them, just for like one little bunch, one little thing, and you have to have like 5 or 10 of them to fill up your vase. But they're like, they could be anywhere from $5 or up for just one little stem of them. And and I don't mind because I figure she can switch them out. But it just recently hit me, and she was wanting some, and I said, what have you been doing with all the ones we've been getting, right? Like, what have you been doing? Where's all the ones we've been getting? Because I just assumed that, when she takes the Christmas ones out to put in the spring ones, that she keeps the Christmas ones back, saves them in a tote or something, like most people do. And that way you don't, I know sometimes you got to throw a few of them away, but sometimes, some of them are still really good and you can keep it. I said, what have you been doing with the ones that we've been getting? I get those for you all the time. Why throw them away? I said, what? She said, I just trashed them. Ain't that what I'm supposed to do?
No.
Wow. I'm going to tell you something. I told her, if you wasn't good for my health, you don't even know. I only keep you around to keep my blood pressure up. You know that, don't you?
Well, buy her a tote.
What?
Buy her a tote.
Girl, she got a tote. She got a whole, let me tell you something about this kid. She got a whole mother freaking closet. She's got her closets in her room. She's got a private bath, a great big room, a setting room, her private closets, and she has a closet off from her room for storage. She got everything she needs. And I'm going to tell you something. Somewhere in all of that stuff is my stuff. And it's just too overwhelming. It's too overwhelming. I mean, I don't even know where to start. I can't even remember what half of my shit looked like. I don't even know what half the stuff she took out of my closets looked like. So how am I going to find it in her closets? I mean, this child, I ain't never seen nothing like this child. Let me tell you that right now. She is definitely something different.
Yeah, but when I brought my flowers, when I bought them artificial flowers, I could go in the living room and catch a bouquet made because Joey made one. Put it on top of the fish tank.
You want to know where I reside at? I got my own room too. I got my own big bedroom, and I got my own bath. But I'm going to tell you something. I don't have double closets. I got one closet.
Oh boy.
It's not that huge. I got one closet you can walk into. And but it's not, it's nothing like what she's got. Nothing like, I mean, this child, she picked the best room in the house. Like, she got the best everything, and her brothers remind her of that all the time. They remind her, listen, princess, you need to go. You need to go to your room. You do got the best room in the house, because they're kind of stuck. They're kind of stuck in rooms like mine. But, she does get a really nice space. And I'm going to tell you something. She is like a gopher. I'm telling you, that child is like a gopher. She goes around the house and takes everything. Like my sons, they actually lock their bedroom door to keep her from raiding their rooms. For real. She will raid your room. If you leave your bedroom door open, which I do all the time, she raids your room. She just comes in and takes what she wants. One time she came in and took my whole like I just barely got this beautiful bed set. I bought her one. I got her a bed set of her own. And I got this real pretty one. I put it on my bed. The next thing she tells me, how she's helping me um, clean up my room. And I thought, oh, that's sweet. You're so sweet. And I'm going to tell you what, I went to my room and my whole bed set's gone. I don't know what the hell she put on my bed. I don't even know where she got it. I still don't know where she got it. I'm telling you, it still bothers me. But I don't know where the shit she throwed on my bed came. It looked like it came from a dumpster, to be honest with you. I don't even remember having anything like that. I don't know where she found it. I mean, that's like great grandma's old quilt or something from somewhere. And I don't remember having anything like that. But it's something's on my bed and I don't even know what it was. And it still haunts me to this day. I'm like, oh my gosh. And like, I went to her room. I said, why didn't you just put your set on my bed? And she's like, but I might need it. I might still want it. And I was like, what? You might still want it? Yeah. I just have to walk off. I have to walk off and laugh. This kid she's something different. I promise you. She is.
Exactly. I mean, kids can do.
She keeps me motivated. She keeps me motivated, girl.
Kids are so funny.
I'm gonna tell you what. If I'd have done that to my mother, she'd have opened a can of whoop ass on me. Straight up. I knew better. I knew better than to even go in my parents' bedroom. You don't even go through the door. You better not even look in, right? Don't even look. You knew better. But these kids today, I'm telling you, there's something different. I mean, I love it. I love it though. I actually, they give me something. They give me something to get up every day for. To see what the hell they're going to do today, right?
Yeah, Joey, he's like, well, I only got this small closet because you got the rest of the house.
Hey, girl, see, that's the way it should be.
He says, I have this small closet. You got the laundry room, the back room, and the other closet. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. No. We've got it's not a humongous house. It's a lovable house. But, I mean, my dogs, oh boy, Peanut don't let anybody know you're outside.
Oh, listen to this. Talk about scary stuff. Listen to this. My one son, he was staying at the house. He said he wanted to stay here. His uncle, their uncles, usually here all the time. He's home a lot. He goes to work, but he's one of those couch potato type people. One of them homebody types. And I don't know why, because he's so good looking. He is like really good looking,
but women cost.
Hey, I'm going to tell you something. Like, he can get the women. He has no problem getting the women. Trust me. Like, he's very good looking and and makes good money. And everything. But he's like one of them bachelor types, so he just basically stays with us and hangs with us all the time. But anyway, my one son says, I'm going to stay here, and his uncle his bedroom's in the basement of the house. With my down where my office is, but it's off from my office. And he has, his own private bath, and there's like a little kitchen and and everything there. But anyway, when I come out of my office, you got to go, like, if you come through the hall, head to where the stairs are, and you can come from my office down through to go up the stairs. You can turn and go, back into the game room, and then back from that is, where his quarters are, where he stays. But anyhow, long story short, that's where I heard a voice when I was, coming from my office down through there. And, and I tried to save on electric and everything. So I tried to keep the lights off and stuff. And man, let me tell you something. That's one night I wish I would have kept the lights on. But anyway, my one son, he was staying here. I guess it's been quite a few weeks back. He stayed, and, his uncle, was down in the game room because he loves to game and stuff. He loves the gaming. But he's down in the game room, and I guess my son was up, in the dining area off from the kitchen. And when you're in the dining area, there's like a hallway out that you could see. And my son said he saw something in that hallway. It was like, this thing. And he said it was like walking around and, like it's looking for something. And he said, but he said it wasn't like real. And I'm like, whoa, what the hell was that? Right? So now I don't only have to worry about something whispering to me as I'm, leaving my office to go, back up to the other part of the house. But I also have to go through that part now, to go onto my room. And I'm like, whoa, I don't even want to hear that. I didn't want to hear that. I didn't want to hear it, and I'm like, oh, damn. Yeah. That's
when my nephew was small. He's 15 now, but when he was little.
Let me tell you something, Pam. Listen to this. I had just like just right prior to him seeing that, I had just went to one of those those antique sale things. I had just went out, me and my daughter had just went to one of them antique sale things, and I had gotten a couple of lamps and I got a couple of lamps, and I got like a some type of table, some kind of table thing or something. Anyway, I just bought a couple, couple pieces from this freaking antique place. This antique sale they had. It was like a big, sale thing. I don't know what they call it, but it's like, where a bunch of antique people get together and they're selling this antique stuff. But me and my daughter went to it, and I had picked up, a few pieces while I was there. I'm going to tell you what, man, those suckers went straight to my garage. It went straight to my mother's freaking garage. I'm like, yeah. And they're going straight to the dumpster. Like, I'm like, I mean, I like every other week I'm told my son, I said, do you see anything? He's like, no. I'm like, good. Right? Yeah, that shit. I got that shit out of my house. I was like, because that's the only thing I had carried in. The only thing I carried in since he, when he saw that. So that shit got packed right back out. I was like, whoa. And you can't, and that's the bad thing about going to them kind of sales and stuff, is that there's no returns, right? They don't take it back. What you buy is fucking yours. And I ain't doing that shit no more. If it ain't brand new, I don't want it.
I'll tell you what I did. PG, this is no lie. I watched true crime, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how they found little Evelyn in that trash can.
Right.
I literally, no lie, had a trash can in my kitchen that looked just like that. And I told the boyfriend, No.
How'd you end up with the trash can, girl?
I don't know, but I told him, I said, that trash can has to go. We have to replace it.
Where'd you pick that up at?
I don't know. This was before, I bought it before I watched the Evelyn Boswell case. And once I seen that trash can, I said, no, Joey, that trash can has to go. Out of my kitchen. Gone. In the trash. We got to replace it. And he replaced it with the black one.
Wow.
Oh, no, that trash can had to go.
I like those trash cans, that's made out of steel, you know what I'm talking about? The real pretty ones that's made out of steel. You just put your foot on it. It's like a doctor's office. You just put your foot on it, it flips up and you throw the trash away. And the lid goes back down. And they're all metal. You can shine them up. You can shine them, they look like a mirror. You can shine them up. Those are the ones I buy.
I got the ones with the lids, but mine are plastic, and they got the little foot thing on them, and they got the lid that'll pop up.
Yeah, I know the ones you're talking about. I have one of those in the garage, and I have one on the patio where when for the cookouts, for people to throw all the stuff in for the cookouts. I keep on the patio. So yeah, those are nice too. You can they're like Rubbermaid, right? They're Rubbermaid.
Yeah.
You can wash them up. You can scrub them and wash them. I wash mine outside all the time. That's where I got.
Let me ask you, PG, do you have? And this is because look at Allie, okay? Because I was confused.
Right.
On Allie's porch, when Chris was there, did you guys see the ceiling fan? On that porch?
She had a ceiling fan out on the porch. I didn't notice that.
Yes,
No, I didn't see that. Oh, did you see last night? When I was talking to Blue Solo Cup, did you see the wall behind him where it looked like Don Wells' handiwork? Did you see how fast he moved the camera too? Didn't want me looking at it. I was like, oh damn. And then he's like, Don just left a couple hours. I believe it. Because that looks just like, see, the one thing I noticed that, when Don was doing his, his mud work in the inside of those new builds that he was working on, actually almost any of the jobs Don does, his mud work, he can't keep, he ain't able to keep a straight line. Like his is always just like the guys was behind, behind Solo Cup, that wall behind Solo Cup. It's always got that, that it's off, it's out of line. He always does. And I'm telling you, that looks just like Don's handiwork back there. I'm like, shit, I think he did it. I think he's the one. I think that guy does know Don. I hate to say it.
He knows Don. Don't let that boy fool you. I've heard him on other channels.
That wall. As soon as I seen that wall, I was like, whoa, that's Don's work right there.
I've heard him on other channels saying he knows Don Wells.
Hey, he came out of nowhere. He's right there in Kingsport. He works in construction. He came out of nowhere, and what, and the funny thing is he ain't got no wife or anything. He's kind of like that dude that showed up at the church with Robin, right? He's kind of like the guy that showed up at the church with Robin.
You talking about Dodson?
No, I'm talking about the guy, oh hell, I talked to that guy. He wanted to meet up with me when he came down here to Tennessee. He wanted to meet up with me at a restaurant, and I almost was ready to do it, but I was like, this, you know, the mother freaker going to take pictures and all kinds of shit. But anyway, it was the guy that showed up and said that he was going to find Summer.
Yeah, he's too drunk to find anybody.
No, it's that Joseph.
Oh, you mean that Joseph Wells or whatever?
Yeah, it was him. That's who Solo Cup kind of reminds me of, because Joseph is one of those guys that also, you know, like, ain't got no life. He ain't got no life. It's like, you know, it's like the Wells know a lot of people like this. And you know, that's odd to me. That's odd to me.
Yeah, it's strange. I mean, I'm telling you, this, when you know, when you see people out here and it's like when Robin said, grab some snacks, grab some water, it's gonna be an all-nighter. Who said that about a missing child? And when I seen that fan,
she said, grab your fanny pack. Right? Grab your fanny pack. It's going to be an all-nighter. I'm like, what the hell?
Well, she makes donuts for people that's not. I fronted her out on the banner and the flyer, and you know, she had to keep her religion where it belonged.
She makes donuts for who?
When she made them cupcakes for everybody.
Oh.
At Summer's birthday. Well, Summer didn't get none.
Hey, I'm going to tell you something. I think she caught on to something being amiss because she told Don and Candus, she told Don and Candus to stay there so that they could pray for Summer. What you don't understand is, you know, that was all put together, pre-planned, and, you know, and set up to operate and come off in a certain way. And Don and Candus was supposed to hang around, you know, until the, you know, the prayer vigil started, you know, for everybody come. Bam. For everybody to come down and pray. And for one, once Don knew that Joseph Wells was there, he wouldn't even come in. And then Candus only ran in to, you know, I think, to get a good look at Joseph and, you know, to confirm, yep, that's him. And then, you know, hang with White Boy and them for a quick second, and then she went out of there. I mean, she supposedly went to the restroom and then, you know, made an exit out to get with Dawn and leave. They totally left the building. And then Robin, here she is, you know, stuck with this weirdo, and her husband's even up there, you know, keeping an eye on everything, and they're trying to do the best they can with this guy. And, you know, like, where the hell did he come from? Where does he go? You know, all of this stuff. And I think Robin got, you know, because I think this guy really scared her up, and then it kind of intimidated her, and, you know, to the point her husband had to kind of, you know, you could tell they were like standing guard with this guy. And anyway, you know, they were trying to be as nice as they possibly could, but at the same point, they were kind of, you know, nervous. And then they seen Don and Candus running for some reason. And then I think Robin, you know, just at that point, I think that was maybe, I think that might have been, you know, the breaking point where she, she really decided to open her eyes, right? She really decided to open her eyes up because she said, you know, you could tell she was, she was frustrated. I mean, go back and watch it. You could tell she's frustrated as hell. And
Did she do anything for the 4-year mark?
Girl, she just came out. I'm going to tell you, she just came out and she said, there's cupcakes and brownies downstairs if anybody wants any. And she thanked whoever baked or made them or whatever. She said they're downstairs if anybody wants any. And then she went on and said, where's Summer don't need no cupcakes and brownies where she's at. And that was like, whoa.
Exactly.
And I'm going to tell you, I think that Joseph guy was Robin's breaking point. The way the Wells acted, the way they hauled ass, all the things, and this weird guy standing there. And I think that's, I think Robin already, seen enough and heard enough and, and everything. She was putting all of this suspicion together, but I think that right there was, that's when the cake came out of the oven, to be honest with you. And
but I didn't see her do anything this year for Summer at the 4-year mark.
No, they didn't do anything for Summer. Not just Robin, but the I think is his name Tim too, Timothy. He didn't do anything for Summer as well. Usually that Timmy guy was the one that really orchestrated all the stuff for Summer and really got everything motivated.
You're talking about the one that does the. You're talking about the guy that does the sign language.
I don't know if he does sign language. I know that he's always at every event, and
yeah,
I have him on Facebook. He's a really, really good kid. He's a really, really good kid. But he's, and he, him and Robin work together to orchestrate all these things for Summer every year as well. But this year they just, just dropped it like a hot potato on the ground and walked off from everything. And I think that, I think that shows that they know, obviously they know something's brewing, because, usually they would have, been there doing something. It just tells me that, something's amiss there as well.
And a lot of people hadn't done a whole lot about at the 4-year mark.
Right. Nobody seemed to, nobody seemed to be motivated this year to do. You're right. Nobody seemed to be motivated this year to do anything. Nobody. But I think a lot of it might possibly have to do with, true crime out here is falling off. True crime out here is falling off, Pam. In my opinion, that's my opinion. True crime is falling off. What I'm saying is, it's kind of gotten boring. It used to be a lot of fun when you had Doug. You had Doug out here, getting wild and everything, and you had Benny getting wild and Molly Golightly, and
when Allie can fart and cough at the same time.
Yeah, right. What I'm saying is, it was a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun back when, when everybody was, able to have free speech and everybody's going after everybody and stuff, and giving each other the what fors and so forth and so on. But you had all of these Debbie Downers come in and start talking about
all the haters because they don't get what.
right.
The
And
thing about it, if they don't get the
right.
story first,
They kind of run it out here for everybody. It's not exciting. It's not exciting. It's not, there's people like do tells. People like do tells. They like to see, they like to see the creators getting all stirred up with one another. They like to see, all the they're here for the drama. They're here for drama and trauma and everything.
yeah, but I gotta admit, PG,
And it's just it's just gotten really boring now. It's gotten so boring, and
some of the little
and
skits
that's
you
sad
make.
for the kids. That's sad for the kids because that's really sad for the kids because these kids really need all of this. They need all of this out here. Keeping their
Exactly.
keeping
It's
them in
all
the
about the kids getting found.
and and if all of that excitement, if all that excitement, it helps bring in the views and everything for these kids, then they should have kept it, they should have kept it moving that way. They should have kept it going that way. But you have a lot of these people, that just wanted to, put the brakes on these kids and on the YouTube community. And
That's
it's
like
very sad.
Layla Santos hasn't been found. Holly Stapp hasn't been found. Joe Clyde hasn't been found.
Right.
I mean, all of these Sebastian, these kids haven't been found yet.
Right.
And their picture needs to be put out there. Like, just the parents, if they can't clear the parents,
well, the West boys,
something's wrong.
The West boys wasn't never found.
Nope.
The step parents got, or the adopted parents, whatever the hell they was, they got prosecuted and everything. But those little boys, they was not ever found.
Only reason
they were so cute. They were beautiful.
The only reason that they got found guilty was because the oldest boy, but they didn't get him for the another boy. But my thing is, how does two kids, and at that time, it was Christmas time when they went missing, don't go and dig, play around with your Christmas ornaments or whatever's outside.
That
was a real strange to me. But how does two kids go missing? I can see one, maybe. But two?
That's true, Grieving Mama. My kids, they always ask, they always ask what's going on in Summer's case. They're always asking, Mom, do you think she'll be found? Mom, is there any changes in the case? Mom, this and that. And, my kids really want Summer found as well as I do. My daughter really wants Summer found. And, it's,
and all we can do is hope that Candus and Dawn
a missing child
can
touch the whole world. A missing child can touch a whole world with sadness and grief, for it. And that's something that law enforcement should take in consideration as, this child, just ain't missing, but it's touching a whole world of people with sadness and grief that, that's staring at law enforcement, waiting and seeking justice to come for this child. And a lot of times it don't. And, what can you say? What can you do?
Hope that the parents talk.
Well, I do know that it depends on how hard how hard, you know, law enforcement's willing to work whether a case gets solved or not, girlfriend. That's just,
Yeah, too.
that's how it is. You know, you're only going to get out of something what you put into it. And, you know, and it don't seem like Summer's case has had too much put into it, if you ask me. I mean, that's my opinion. You know, law enforcement can say what they want, but you know, I haven't seen shit be put into her case, you know, since the few days they put in at the beginning. And they came back, you know, one other time to, you know, stir the pot up real good, like a grand finale. And then they were gone. And we ain't really seen shit. We've seen more out of, you know, regular citizens with boots on the ground and researching and making phone calls and doing all they can to get this baby found than we've seen law enforcement doing over the last 4 years. So, you know, who's really trying to solve this case? Us or law enforcement? I don't know. I just think if law enforcement was to put the man hours into this, that us creators and all of the people out here, you know, the mods and the chats and all of us working together has put into it, I think they would have already solved it. If they was putting the man hours we were, you know, it had done been solved. You know, law enforcement, they're not restrained. We're restrained from doing a lot of things to find Summer. They're not restrained, and you know, they could do a lot of things we can't, and that's the big things that'll solve the case, like going over there and checking into Morrison Cemetery and seeing if she's possibly in there. I mean, you know, we can't do that, but they can. They can do it.
It's worth a try. I mean,
absolutely, everything's worth a try.
They got to put their effort in, just like, you know, you and every creator out there.
Right.
But when you start going real life on people, that's the bad part. I mean, people want to talk about the kids, but then if they say a certain word, you know, let's you know, like you're talking about Summer, and you're Summer's Army, and we've all been Summer's Army from day one. And then people come in and say, "Oh, well, that's not Summer's Army," blah blah blah. Well, you know what? You wasn't anywhere, so get out of here if you ain't Summer's Army.
Listen, you know what? This is Summer's channel, and all the people in this chat are her army. And I'm going to tell you something. All the people who are in Justin's chat is her army, and all the people in Dolly's, and all the people in Chris M's, and all the people in Bullhorn Betty's, and all the people in all of these chats, they are Summer's army. They're Sebastian's army. They're Michael Vaughn's army. They're Jack and Lily's army. We are the army of all of these missing children. We are the voices for the voiceless. And you know what? They ain't a damn thing that evil people can do about it. There's nothing Andrew can do about it. Nothing, you know,
that's
that
like when he said,
can do.
"Oh, I'm going to talk to Don and Candus."
They just
have a sister deceased.
Is all they can do is suck it up and shut up. That's it.
Yeah, but he said, well, he talked about that sister deceased. Good luck with that, Andrew, because
hey, Pam, I told you I'm not giving him.
I know, but I just hate it when he talks about people.
Friend, I ain't giving him any more attention. Just drop it like it's hot. So I'm not going to do it.
We love Summer over here.
Absolutely.
And we all want Summer found.
Amen.
Summer, Moon, Utah, Wells. It's what it's about over here.
With God's help, that will get done at some point. Trust
God's help, and the law enforcement has got to step in, or have somebody
law enforcement
have a second look at it.
let me tell you something. Law enforcement's already in it. And they're doing, like I said, they're doing what they can behind the scenes. Let's just give them, we got to give it space. We got to give it space right now.
I give them credit for what they, I give them the benefit of the doubt. But, I mean, move faster because summer's been 4 years already. Come on, people. Listen to everything Don and Candus say that comes out of their mouth. Put that together. Don and Candus, what are PG, remember? 2 people Don never blamed.
Right.
Name them 2 people.
Themselves. It's themselves.
Candus and Grandis. Don never blamed Candus or Grandis at all.
They didn't ever blame themselves. They blamed everybody else but themselves. And that's
exactly.
how you know people's guilty as hell is when they're blaming everyone but themselves. Because when they're blaming everyone but themselves, they're trying to keep the focus off of them. See, if you're innocent, you don't need to blame no one. You're not blaming. You're going to be like, I know I'm innocent, and I'm not going to, and I don't want nobody putting that evil stigma on me, and I'm not going to be putting it on anyone else. I'm not going to blame nobody because I don't know. And, I'm not going to start throwing people under the bus because I don't know.
Exactly.
And I don't want nobody, I know I'm innocent and I don't want to be threw under a bus either. And therefore I'm going to do, I'm going to do onto other people as I would want them to do onto me. And I ain't going to have a problem. And I don't need to throw people under the bus to keep the focus off of me because I'm innocent. And when you're innocent, you could tell people, hey, I don't care what you think. I don't care what you think. I know what I am. And I'm going to talk about my missing child. I'm going to, you want to go from A to Z, let's do it. You're not going to be afraid. You're not going to be afraid. You tell them people, you know what? If you don't want to put up, shut up. If you don't want to come and help, find this child, and you don't want to pass out flyers, and you don't want to work through the network to help get something done, then step that ass aside and shut up. That's what you're going to tell people. But if you're guilty, you're going to do exactly what the whale's done, in my opinion. You're going to try to gaslight everybody. You're going to try to get the focus off of you by throwing everybody else under a bus. You're going to do all the damn things that they done. You're not going to be looking for your kid because you already know where it's at. I mean, all the things they did, that's what you're going to do. That's common damn sense. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that one out.
But I love you, PG, and I hope Summer's army stays here till she's found, because this is all Summer has. I mean, yeah, she's got all them other creators.
Hey,
but this sticks to one person. This sticks to basically Summer.
This channel does not leave any missing child behind. It doesn't leave Jack and Lily behind.
No.
It doesn't leave Sebastian behind. It doesn't leave Michael behind. And it sure don't leave Summer behind.
No.
We ain't leaving no child that's missing behind. We pray for them all. We keep them out here as much as we can. And we're doing all we can. All we can, behind the scenes and on the scene, to try to figure out, what exactly happened to this, these children. And, it's like Jack and Lily's case, you got the mother going to the beach and everything now. And you have, the dad. I want to come in and talk some about Jack and Lily's case, because there's a whole lot of stuff going on in that case that people ain't pointing out as well. And I'm going to take time to do that. Right now, I just been, a lot on Summer's case, because to my understandings, behind the scenes, they're trying to do what they can to, you know, to just to look into some things that, you know, been put on the table, and if they do and they happen to find Summer, her case could be solved up real soon. And, you know, and I'm just kind of, you know, standing by waiting to see what, you know, what's going to go down, and you know what direction this is all going to go. And hopefully it goes in the right one. Hopefully it goes in the right one. But, you know, that's right now what I'm trying to stay on top of. And you know, it's a lot. And I have a lot going on right now in my personal life as well. So, you know,
I got a personal life. I mean,
but I will get back to Jack and Lily. But go ahead, girl.
Okay, you get to going out there by that beach, right?
Right.
You got a beach photo. Who in another case went out to the bar?
That was Leilani. Yeah. You know, well, you know, what I'm saying is I understand life don't stop because you've got a missing child. I understand. It don't mean that you have to sit around and look sober all the time. You know, life don't stop. But, you know, you shouldn't be doing, you shouldn't be going that far with it either. You know, you shouldn't be acting like, you should be trying to go back before you ever had any kid days. It don't look right. It don't look right in the eyes of the public. It doesn't look right in the eyes of the law. It doesn't look right in the eyes of anyone. If
you tell the truth the first time, then you wouldn't have to have a box full of lies.
Right.
Because then you can't catch up with the truth.
Hey, I'm going to tell you, I think Jack and Lily's case is going to get solved too, because I do take note that law enforcement's really on top of this one.
Oh yeah.
They're on top of this one, girl. So, and they ain't letting up. They ain't letting up.
No, they're not.
She did. So, that's a good thing. But it's getting really late. We got to get out of here, girl, and let these guys, I got to get up. Tomorrow.
All right, I love you all.
It's Monday, girl, and I'm going to tell you that's a hard day. That's the hardest day of the week is Monday, right? And I'm going to get about maybe
keep everybody and all the missing kids under your prayers, in your prayers.
Yeah, at this point right here, I'm just thinking, watch a couple of movies and sign into work. All right.
Love you, PG.
Anyway, girl, I love you too. And
love you all in chat.
And quit stressing, girlfriend.
Oh, he'll be home.
The Bible tells you, Pam, worrying ain't going to add one thing. It ain't going to add one
thing. Yeah, but PG, he called me earlier and said he was running a fever. It's like, oh, Lord, don't tell me nothing else.
Yeah, he'll be all right. Doctors know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They'll take care of it.
I love you all. Prayers to all of you.
Appreciate you coming up, Pam, hanging out tonight. God bless, hon. All right, you guys. I'm heading out, but not before I ask you, as I always do. Please, please, please keep those prayers going up for Summer Moon, Utah Wells. Please keep the prayers going up in the name of Jesus Christ. I know that God is listening. He hears our prayers. If you fold your hands, you bow your head, and you ask the Lord to please let this little girl be found. Please. I really want her found. God, please pull this to the light. Let law enforcement solve it. Give them all the tools they need to get this done, Father, in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. I know God will listen and he will answer. You got to believe he'll answer in order to get the answer. So please, make sure that you pray. Make sure that you pray. I'm not going to say exactly what I was going through. But this past week, something I was going through, I looked up and I said, Lord, please, please, I need your help. I need, please help me. And I'm going to tell you something. God answered. God answered right away. It didn't take a day, 2 days, 5 days. It happened right at the time I asked. Right at the time I asked, it was done. What I had asked for was done. But I also believed that it would be. And that's what it takes to get it done. We serve a powerful God. He loves us. And I'm going to be honest with you. Being out here on YouTube and everything, I didn't even know if I was worthy. I didn't even know if I was worthy. But I'm going to tell you something. God let me know I am. And I thank him for that. So I'm going to tell you, keep the prayers going up for this little girl. Because God does answer prayers. All you have to do is believe. Good night, everybody. God bless. Much love.